All right, if you're just jumping on, we are now tracking a tornado threat for portions of the upper Midwest. This includes, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. We got a moderate risk in place for this tornado threat, and certainly we are already seeing storms evolve, some strengthening pretty quickly, and we're going to be watching this as it continues to develop through the evening. We're looking at a line of storms developing and also some supercells on the backside right now, so you can see those if you look off to the west out here closer to Sioux Falls. As I mentioned, and as you just saw a moment ago, we have a line of severe storms which is moving across Minnesota, Iowa, and into Wisconsin, and this may end up producing the majority of tornadoes that we see. So a pretty significant threat here, and one that is going to continue to be a concern for hours to come still. In fact, even if you're out towards Chicago, we are looking at this severe weather threat, and it's really just beginning to unfold now. Coming a little bit later, but we are looking at, nonetheless, a threat that is producing right now. So we're live here on TikTok and on YouTube. Hey, what's up? Welcome. Welcome in, Brianna. And if you guys are just jumping in, by the way, we are tracking severe weather across more than just those northern states. I will mention we do have some strong storms out here in Kansas as well. We'll be watching those as they evolve later tonight too. They are more isolated out here, and once my radar loads, you'll see for yourself. But this threat actually extends from the upper Midwest all the way into portions of the central U.S., as well as other areas of the country, including Kansas, like I said, Oklahoma, and Texas as well. So a few different areas to watch for this severe weather threat. So we'll jump down a little farther south here, since my Kansas radar is loading slowly. But as we continue to watch these storms, actually all my radar's loading a little slowly right now, but as we continue to watch these storms, we're going to jump back farther north. We'll be evaluating the tornado threat, looking at where storms are most likely to be producing tornadoes. We do have one tornado warning right now. This is actually in southern Minnesota. We are looking at what was a hook-like appendage here, and while we're not seeing that so much now, we are going to continue to watch this storm as it is one that is more likely to produce a tornado in the short term here. If we go back a few frames, we'll be able to see more or less exactly what that hook was they warned for. And if we go back, you can kind of see right here we had this couplet, that red and blue colors side by side. That's what you look for when you're looking for a tornado on radar, and that is something that we'll be watching and probably seeing a lot of tonight, is that sort of shape showing up on our radar. So continuing to watch that, of course, and we'll be switching between our reflectivity, which you're used to seeing here, and that velocity, which tells us what's going on in the wind. Let's see. Northern Ohio tomorrow. Good question. This threat does get into Ohio tomorrow. The threat in northern Ohio is going to be more so in the early part of the afternoon. If you're in southern Ohio, it's going to be the later part of the afternoon. So it depends on exactly where you are. But that threat is going to be shifting farther east as we get into the daytime tomorrow. I'll say for Kansas, one of the threats, of course, is tornadoes, but the threats are a lot more isolated the farther out of the north you go. So here are our storms in Kansas right now. There really isn't anything else ongoing in the state, but we do have a few stronger storms developing between Abilene, Junction City, Manhattan. Quite a bit of hail being reported here. That's a hail report of, about 1 inch, so quarter sized. And this is something that we'll be watching as well. Some of these random storms popping up as they all have the potential to produce tornadoes as well. And if we slide farther south, like I said, we are tracking the potential for tornadoes in states like Oklahoma and Texas as well. And if we jump to radar here once more, you're seeing, actually this is a really cool example, guys. We have a splitting supercell here. Watch how we have this one storm. It's going to split into two. You see that? So in these environments, because I've been looking at this, that left mover is more likely to die out eventually, though it is more likely to produce large hail. This guy going right is more likely to produce a tornado now. So in southern Oklahoma, closer to Lawton, we'll certainly be looking at the potential for tornadoes to be produced out there. We also have severe storms in central Texas right now. These storms in central Texas, once again, pretty isolated. So we're not looking at huge clumps of storms, but rather more individual storms. Let's see. Questions about Eau Claire. Eau Claire, by the way, I miss it out there. If anyone from Eau Claire is watching, and if anyone from Eau Claire is unaware, I used to work there for, it was about 2 years, right out of college. It wasn't that long ago now. Let's see, it's been about 4 years since I worked in Eau Claire. I really miss it out there a lot. Eau Claire, though, about to get into some of the stronger storms out here. What I'm looking at is this edge of the line to go through Eau Claire eventually. What's up, Rachel? And this portion of the line will be moving into Eau Claire in about the next, let's see, that should be about the next 30 minutes. I'm not seeing an immediate tornado threat out there in Eau Claire, but certainly going to be looking at the potential for tornadoes to spin up. The greatest tornado threat in the short term is really here on the southeastern portion of Minnesota. Minneapolis, for the most part, not in the threat in the short term here, but rather Rochester, Austin, and then eventually La Crosse, Wisconsin, included in that as well. I miss all you guys in Eau Claire. I really do. Eau Claire was I really loved my 2 years out there. I spent I worked at WEAU from 2019 to 2021. And I'm sure you're gonna find Darren live at some point. So make sure to tune into him. Yeah, no, I miss Eau Claire a lot. I could go on and on and on. And if the weather gets quiet, maybe I'll just tell you stories about Eau Claire. Let's see. It's going to get bad in St. Joseph, Kansas. I'm not seeing anything in the right now that says it's going to get really bad, but there are storms nearby, so we're going to watch those tonight as they continue to evolve. Do want to get an update on our one tornado warn storm here, moving into the Albert Lee area of Minnesota. Again, we're looking at a tornado, if one is produced, right around here, so on the south side of where the town is. And if I switch to our velocity, we're not seeing that much in the way of rotation right now, which is a good sign, though. You do need to be heading down to that safe place if you are somewhere where a tornado warning is issued. So while I say I don't see much, that doesn't mean a tornado cannot be produced. It just means I'm not seeing an immediate high threat there. What's up, Eau Claire people in the TikTok chat? By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm streaming on TikTok. And if you're watching on TikTok, I'm streaming on YouTube too. So if I'm not seeing your questions on TikTok, I will probably see them easier if you head on over to @TuckerWeather on YouTube. Just saying. There's less people on there than on here. So if you want to be seen, YouTube's the place to go. Let's see, though. La Crosse, I expect this threat to be increasing in La Crosse in about the next hour or so. Eau Claire, I got storms going in there right now. So if you're out near Menominee, that's where we're seeing the storms begin to arrive right now. What's it? UW Stouts in Menominee, right? And then Eau Claire, of course, that's going to be about 20, 30 minutes after those storms go through Menominee. So pretty quickly, these storms are moving east, but Menominee is going to be facing those storms first. If you're out closer to Madison, Kenosha, Waukesha, so if you're on the eastern side of the state, it's going to be a few hours before storms get in that way. What I will say right now, guys, though, is that we are looking a little quieter than what we were expecting to this point, which is good. It doesn't mean it's going to stay this quiet, so you got to be on your feet. Let's see. Madison is certainly in this threat for severe weather. Madison, right out here, of course. I am keeping an eye on the potential for once more tornadoes out there, as well as damaging wind gusts too. Large hail is a possibility, but I believe that tornadoes and wind are going to be the biggest threats in Madison. That threat will be increasing in about the next 2 to 3 hours, so you have some time, but nonetheless, it is going to be concerning, especially given that threat's going to come at night. So with a nocturnal threat, you need to make sure you have something that can wake you up. Make sure emergency alerts are turned on your phone. Your phone will make noise if there's a tornado warning. That would hopefully wake you up. But Madison, we're looking at later on tonight. Still many of the same threats we're facing right now too. Watoma, let's see. Tell me where is Watoma near? Give me a. I know Wisconsin pretty well, but give me a larger city that it's close to. I'll take a look for you. These storms actually are not particularly fast moving, not yet. They'll speed up a little bit more as we get later into the evening tonight. And then I'll get to Wausau questions too. I'm seeing a lot of Wausau questions. Let's see. Rachel, good question. Yeah, we talked about Ohio a little bit. Southwest Ohio is going to get into some of these storms more so in the early afternoon tomorrow through the mid-afternoon. So if you're in Ohio, I know I got a lot of people from Ohio who follow. You guys got to be watching tomorrow too, just so you know. All right, Wausau, we were just talking about for a second there. The threat in Wausau will once again be tornadoes and damaging wind primarily. You may be getting into some rain. You may be hearing some thunder in Wausau right now, but the biggest threat is still a little ways out. I'm talking a couple hours. So you don't need to be on high alert yet, but you should be prepared, and you need to be thinking about that safe place you're going to go, which is the lowest floor of your house, a basement if you have one, into an interior room too, of course. Thanks, Izzy. Close to Oshkosh. Yeah, if you're anywhere near Oshkosh, That threat for severe weather will once again be for tornadoes, damaging wind, as it will be pretty much across the state of Wisconsin. I expect that threat is going to be increasing in the next 2 to 3 hours, so you have some time, but it certainly is a serious threat out there where you are too. Not quite as high as what we're seeing right now, but still certainly up there. All right, let's see. A lot of Eau Claire people out there. Like I said, did anyone from Eau Claire is watching? Any of you guys watch me when I used to work in Eau Claire? Because I really miss it. Like I said, I miss all you guys out there. But basically for Eau Claire, this threat is increasing as we get into the next few hours. I expect the threat in Eau Claire is going to be greatest. I shouldn't say next few hours. I should say in about the next half hour in Eau Claire. These storms are reaching Menominee, and they will be into Eau Claire, I believe, in about the next, like I said, 25 minutes or so. So you got to be ready. I'm not expecting the threat to be gradual. It's just going to hit hard once it gets in. Luckily, not seeing a significant tornado threat out there now, but continuing to monitor radar and our wind velocity to see if anything spins up. Yes, I used to work on WEAU, Channel 13 in Eau Claire. That was it, digital. That's where I used to work. Like I said, I really miss it out there. I lived right on Half Moon Lake, if you guys know where that is, right by, right by Carson Park. Played a lot of tennis on those tennis courts. Really miss it. Like I said, that was a great 2 years of my life. So this area certainly close to my heart. What's up, Markowitz? Yeah, no. I spent a lot of time on Water Street too. When I lived in Eau Claire, I was 21, 20. So I was 21 when I moved out to Eau Claire. I was like fresh out of college. And then, I was 22 and I was 23 eventually when I moved away from Eau Claire. So, like I said, a lot of good memories in Eau Claire, a lot of funny memories too. Yeah, so I miss it. Like I said, I miss it out there a lot. I loved Eau Claire. It was really one of the best, some of the best years of my life out there. Even though it was pandemic, really miss it out there. All right, so let's see. Getting back to, that wasn't good. Let's get back to our radar scope since it just crashed on me. There we go. So Eau Claire basically and La Crosse are both going to be looking at tornado threats that increase over the next half hour or so. If you're in Eau Claire, La Crosse, I expect that threat to be increasing in the next, we'll say about the next hour or so. Those storms will be getting into La Crosse. And the tornado threat does appear to be slightly greater in La Crosse right now, given it's the southern segment of this line that seems to be the most active. Eau Claire may get through this without as much activity as expected. And generally speaking right now, we haven't had as much activity as expected either. So that's a good sign for us. Let's see. Whitewater right now, because you're a little bit farther, out of the way, a little farther north, you do need to be on the lookout for severe storms. But the greatest threat is going to stay a little bit out of your way. That said, the tornado threat's still very real. Same with the damaging wind threat. Definitely need to be prepared for what may come your way. So just make sure you have something that can alert you if there's warnings. And of course, as always with these storms, just stay alert until they move through. Whitewater, though, I expect that threat's going to increase. Basically, if you're anywhere between Madison and Milwaukee, that threat is going to be increasing in about the next, 2 to 3 hours as these storms move farther east. Not quite there yet, but on their way for sure. Let's see here. Minneapolis right now, it looks like the storms, if we don't get much, we are getting some redevelopment, but if these storms behind the line don't develop into much, Minneapolis may end up getting through this without any serious issues, but we still need to watch some of these guys on the backside out here. I'll give you a closer look. Some of these storms out here, they are going to be moving in behind this main line, it appears, and these could end up impacting Minneapolis. So something to keep a close eye on how this evolves. And I believe there's still quite a bit of uncertainty on how this exactly evolves, but it is something that I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on. So, stay aware. We did just get a new severe storm warning, by the way. This one actually in north central Minnesota. A little surprised to see this pop up here. It's actually a hailer. We're not really looking at a tornado threat, but some hail out here. This is just north of Brainerd, kind of moving into the arrowhead of Minnesota. So, I don't want to call it no man's land, but, not a lot of people are out there. Let's see. Yeah, I'll talk about Eau Claire, La Crosse, and let's see. I got a question. How is the discrete supercell development before the QLCS? I'll get into that question in a second, too. Eau Claire and La Crosse, of course, some of our larger western Wisconsin populations. What we're seeing here is a line of storms, like I said, moving into Menominee right now, getting into the Eau Claire area. This line of storms is what we're going to see produce likely most of our tornadoes. Eau Claire is going to be impacted in about the next 20 minutes, though right now in Eau Claire, I'm not seeing anything crazy. And I'll get to Rochester too. I'm not seeing anything crazy in Eau Claire, but I am looking at what will be some strong wind and some hail. The tornado threat right now is actually not super high the way it appears at this moment in Eau Claire. So good news to that end for sure. La Crosse, that threat's going to increase closer to the next hour or so here. I do believe the tornado threat is greater in La Crosse than Eau Claire. So you do need to be near a safe place you can go. You know, that's the lowest floor of your house, somewhere like that, where if there is a tornado, you can quickly go somewhere and you know, stay somewhere safe. Let's see. Someone asked, how is the discrete supercell development before the QLCS? Basically, that question is, you know, how did these storms form before they conglomerated into this line? And, you know, what's been interesting about today is while we are looking at a line of storms, we have both a line and individual storms. You know, a lot of times, guys, you may be used to seeing these lines of storms produce more so the damaging wind and not tornadoes. In this case, we certainly have a tornado threat associated with the line. And along with some of the individual storm cells we're seeing too, we also have a tornado threat. So this line, that you know, the development of supercells has been completely separate from the line. The line sort of developed all at once, and both actually in this case will pose the same threats, which is kind of interesting here. I do want to point out here, if we open up a velocity, I'm still not seeing any significant rotation, but I am watching a couple places. Actually, this spot here I'm interested in, just north of Menominee. I'm watching one area north of Menominee where there may be some rotation. This is going to be moving into the north side of Eau Claire, basically Lake Hallie up through Bloomer. We're watching as there may be some rotation on a segment of the line. Just parsing through this. I don't have any significant updates, which is good in terms of rotation, but we are watching that one spot just north of Menominee for you guys. All right, let's see where we're at here. Let's see where we're at. We did just get a tornado warning, by the way, in Kansas. I'm going to get to that here really quickly. Not near any major population centers, so really not near Kansas City, although it is pretty close to Chapman and Manhattan. Kansas, like I said, we have a new tornado warning out here. You can kind of see that hook actually pretty clearly on radar if we zoom in. And that's a good question. How do we identify rotation on radar? Well, let me show you this. You can see on the storm, we have this hook here. Here, you got that piece that kind of comes out from all this red here. See, I've circled it right here. So you got that hook right here. And basically, when you have that hook, that's a sign that you have basically air flowing in and from two different directions. So you got air flowing out of the hook area too. And it's just a sign of rotation, more or less. I described that very poorly. But basically, you got inflow and you get outflow, and it's all swirling into this spot right here in the middle. We also have this on radar, a couplet as we call it, and this one is not a strong one, but what I'm seeing is, again, you have this bright sort of bluish green color. You have these sort of darker, sort of reddish gray colors side by side. That tells us that the wind is moving opposite directions very close together, and when you get that motion, you have rotation. And actually, in this case, I drew that backwards. I drew that correct way. In this case, you have rotation. So basically what we're looking at here is what would be a tornado basically right between those spots. That's how you find it on radar. And sorry, that was not my best description of how you discover rotation on radar. But you can see clearly we call it a couplet. Those two different colors side by side. And when it's correlated with a hook like that on a storm, that's how we know that there is some rotation. And we are seeing that right now in Kansas. Like I said, not near any major areas, but south of Enterprise, north of Woodbine. If you're in that area, make sure you head back down to your safe place if you aren't there already. Also looking at a strong storm currently. This is just to the north and west of Kansas City, actually. What I'm seeing here is definitely a storm that's producing hail. Perhaps some rotation in there as well, but nothing intense. So like I said, we had a lot of rotation out there, but I'm not seeing anything crazy ongoing really anywhere at the moment, which is good news, of course, and hopefully we can keep it that way. Jumping back to our main event, if you will, this line of storms moving into western Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota. If you're in Rochester, I know someone just commented about Rochester. Those skies are getting pretty dark. I don't see any significant rotation moving into Rochester right now, which is a good sign. I do want to inspect one area right here. I don't believe that's rotation, but let me just double check. Yeah, I'm not seeing too much rotation right now, but certainly it's going to be rainy. There's going to be a lot of lightning and thunder, some strong winds too. We got anyone in Menominee by chance? I'm curious what it's like in Menominee for you guys, as that is where we have storms moving in right now. By the way, guys, if you're just jumping on, and let me get to Stevens Point too before I get into this. Stevens Point, a little bit farther, of course, to the east. Stevens Point at this moment, I'm not seeing anything in the immediate term that's threatening, but if you're in Stevens Point, I would be watching for this line to arrive in about the next 90 minutes. And as it gets into Stevens Point, there will certainly be a tornado threat along with a damaging wind threat. It's not the biggest threat I've ever seen, but it is one to take seriously. And anyone watching here, you should know where to go if there's a tornado. Remember, that's the lowest floor of your house, a basement if you have one. Just make sure that you're near that and you're paying close attention to what's going on. If you're weather aware and you have a safe place to go and you go there when you need to, it's very, very, very likely that you will be okay. So just keep that in mind. If I understand if storms make people nervous. I totally get that. But just know the numbers are heavily in your favor when you're taking those proper precautions. I do want to take a close look at this, by the way. Just an early warning here, guys. South of Durand, I am seeing an area where we may have some rotation. This will be moving in the direction of Mondovi and Osseo out there in western Wisconsin. Not much on our... Well, you know what, actually, guys. So if you're in Mondovi or Osseo, Wisconsin, I know that's kind of out there. There's not a lot out there. I do believe we may get a tornado warning on this segment of the line right here, okay? So if you're near Mondovi or Osseo, in about the next 10 minutes, you got a portion of this line that does look like it's exhibiting some rotation. This would include Oliva Strum as well, so south of Eau Claire. There's no tornado warning right now, but I am watching, like I said, a segment of the line here that would eventually be moving in the direction of Mondovi, Oliva Strum, and Osseo as well. I'm just seeing a little bit of subtle rotation in here. Would not be surprised if this gets tornado warned. So like I said, if you're near Gilmanton, Mondovi, Osseo, just make sure that you are ready to head down to your safe place. Just an early heads up for you guys out there. South of Eau Claire, we have an area of rotation in this line. Like I said, I would not be surprised if it does get tornado warned. So just an early heads up. We'll see if it actually does, but it's concerning enough for me to give you a heads up, call that out for you. All right, let's see. So if you're just tuning in, by the way, guys, I got people watching on YouTube and on TikTok right now. But if you're just jumping on and you're new here, just want to introduce myself. I'm Tucker. I'm a meteorologist. I actually have a degree in meteorology. I work on TV in Boston as a meteorologist. I used to work on TV in Eau Claire as a meteorologist on Channel 13. But basically my point is you're going to get good weather information here, information you can trust. So be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're watching. Ask any questions you got. I will say if you got questions and I don't see them, you can find me on Instagram too. I'm at Tucker Weather. You can DM me your questions there. I'll get back to all you guys after the stream ends. And of course, if you're watching on TikTok, like I mentioned a moment ago, I am streaming on YouTube as well. And there are a lot less of you watching on YouTube at this moment. So if you have questions I'm not seeing, if you find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube, you will probably get your questions answered a lot quicker. So take a look there because I'm seeing the comments on YouTube much easier than I am on TikTok. So at Tucker Weather if you're curious. Otherwise, hey everyone in Eau Claire, I miss you all if you remember me out there. If not, I used to work out there for 2 years. I loved it out there. It's a great place, and I'm keeping an eye on these storms, hoping you get through it all right. But yeah, I used to work at WEAU out there. It was a great 2 years. Miss it a lot, actually. All right, let's see. I agree. I do enjoy streaming on YouTube more, but TikTok, I would never abandon you guys on TikTok. But like I said, if you're watching on TikTok, find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube. You'll just get your comments answered a lot quicker there. Otherwise, let's see here. All right, what's up, Al? What's up, my Eau Claire folks? Like I said, I miss all you guys out there. I really do. That was the 2019 to 2021. I miss it a lot. I'll answer some more WEAU questions, but let me give you some updates on on our coverage. Actually, you know what? It's kind of cool. Here, really quickly. I'll show YouTube first, but then I'll show you guys on TikTok. This is actually, I just happen to have this with me. My Mug Club mug, WEAU on it. I literally just had it sitting next to me randomly. I'm kind of going through some of my stuff, and this just happened to be out. So for for everyone on TikTok too, here you go. Here you go. Ready? There's your proof. There's your proof right there. That was yeah. There you go. Mug Club right there. Most exclusive club in Western Wisconsin, obviously. All right. Let's get to your questions now. Okay, let's get to your questions on YouTube first. I'm going to get to those questions on TikTok. Minneapolis, you're not in the clear yet. If you're in Minneapolis, here's what I'm looking at. This threat is primarily going to be to the east of you, the way it's panning out right now. But there are some storms moving north through northern Iowa. Those storms will threaten Minneapolis later on, but they're going to be more miss than hit. So the chances are, if you're in the Minneapolis area, that you're ending up dry, but I certainly cannot rule out the potential for a tornado because there will still be some storms out there too. Let me see what else we got here. Yeah, you better be kidding. Pitt is not better than Penn State. In football, at least. Lacrosse is in a spot where I do expect there to be some strong storms. Damaging wind is quite likely. A tornado is still very possible in Lacrosse. That threat's increasing in about the next hour out there. Madison, Wisconsin, about the same threat as Lacrosse. The threat is going to be primarily for tornadoes, damaging wind, and it will be greatest in a local time out there in Madison, closer to about 9:30 p.m. So that's when the threat will be getting higher in Madison. So Kansas, also a spot that I was watching too. Thanks for that question as well. Anyone in Kansas right now? We just got a new tornado warning in Minnesota. I'm going to get to that in a second. Let me just show you Kansas real quick. Kansas is also in a spot where I am keeping an eye on the tornado threat, as this is going to be more isolated. But any storms, you can see we have a line of storms in Kansas too. Any of these storms have the potential to spin up and produce a tornado. Flooding is also a big concern along I-70 around Junction City out towards Abilene as well, and up towards Manhattan. As you can see, these storms are in a line and just training one after another. So that's also a spot that we're watching very closely. And I will add, too, before we get back to Minnesota and Wisconsin, that there is a severe weather threat out here in Texas and in Oklahoma. Once again, any of these storms out here have the potential to produce a tornado as well. If you're in Winona, we are watching these storms. Again, similar timing to Lacrosse. In about the next hour, that threat's going to increase. It is a tornado threat. So if you're in Lacrosse or Winona, really any of the places I just mentioned, you need to be near a safe place. You gotta know where to go, and that's going to be the lowest floor of your house, in an interior room, a basement if you have one. If you live in an apartment, just you want to get to the lowest floor, and kind of into the middle of the building. That's where you're going to be safest. Let's see here. Menominee, you guys are getting hit by the rain and storms, but the good news, I'm not seeing an immediate tornado threat in Menominee. You could probably tell me more about what you're getting out there. I'll say on radar, it doesn't look too crazy in Menominee, but I did just check a second ago, and in Menominee, you're more so getting the wind and rain, but the tornado threat is quickly dropping out there. There is a tornado warning that was just issued for portions of central Minnesota. This is north of Brainerd, moving in the direction of, Palisade, we'll say, Wakanabo. I might have said that incorrectly, but that is also a spot where we're looking at this storm moving. We have our area of rotation right here where you have those green and red colors side by side. You can see we do have a hook on this storm right here. So this is right near Wolford. Like I said, moving towards Palisade, Minnesota. So we do have a tornado warning out here. There aren't many storms up this way, but we do have to keep an eye on this one as it continues to move to the north and east. So just a heads up out there. Not a lot of population, but something I'll be keeping an eye on too. That is the only tornado warning storm we have at the moment, though. Good news, of course. I miss you guys on WEAU too. I really do. Let's see. St. Joseph time frame looks like it's still going to be about another 2 to 3 hours for St. Joseph, and that may be on the early side of things too. It's taking a little while to get there. Red Wing, Minnesota. Good question. I was just looking at the Red Wing area pretty recently. Fun fact, first casino I ever went to was in Red Wing. Very random, but fun fact. So basically, Red Wing, that's along with a lot of the areas on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Red Wing's in a spot where actually at this point, I can see most of the storms have passed Red Wing. So the threat's not completely over. There may be another storm on the backside of this, but the biggest threat out there is over, which is good. You guys in Eau Claire, you're probably hearing the sirens going off now, if they still do that. When I worked in Eau Claire, they used to sound the sirens for severe storm warnings. Eau Claire was just added to a severe storm warning. Wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That's nothing crazy, but it is severe, so you don't want to be outside in this. You don't want to be on the upper floor of your house. You don't need to head to the basement for this. You don't need to head down there, but if you're in Eau Claire, anyone in Eau Claire hearing the sirens right now, out of curiosity? Like, they used to always sound them for severe weather, even if it wasn't a tornado when I was out there. That's a severe storm warning. So basically what we're looking at is, okay, good. Honestly, they should not sound the sirens for this, but when I worked out in Eau Claire, they used to sound them for severe storm warnings. I honestly found it more confusing than anything else. So that's good. That's good. You guys are not in a tornado warning in Eau Claire, just a severe storm warning. 60 mile per hour wind gusts is the warning. That's man. Just basically don't go up to the top floor of your house and don't go outside in this. But you will have a pretty good storm passing through right now. Let's see, some questions. Oshkosh, Madison, I'm seeing some questions about as well. If you're in Oshkosh or Madison or Appleton, even Green Bay, if you're anywhere out here on the eastern side of the state or south central part of the state, we're still looking at a tornado threat, a damaging wind threat. This is going to be increasing in the next 2 to 3 hours, so you still have some time out there. But in the meantime, you may also get some heavier rain, some downpours. There is a sort of broken line of storms trying to extend through that area, so I'll be watching that closely too, just to see if this ends up doing anything. We do have a severe storm on the, sort of in the north woods out there, so there is the potential for some severe weather before that primary threat in 2 to 3 hours. But right now, it's not, in the short term here, it's not super high. It will increase more later on, though. Marshfield area, we're still looking at that threat. It's very similar to what I just said, increasing in about the next hour or two out there. Trying to get to more of your questions here. A lot of these tornadoes will happen after dark, by the way. Seen some questions about that. So these tornadoes occurring after dark mean you need to have emergency alerts turned on, and you got to make sure your ringer's on. So if there is a tornado, your phone will basically buzz. It'll make noise. It'll wake you up. Trying to get to all your questions here. Looking through YouTube right now too. All right, so no sirens. People have been saying we're all good in Eau Claire right now, but still that severe storm warning. Let's see. Masons in California. I hope there's no tornado sirens out there. All right, sirens are going off in Chippewa Falls. Is that what you're saying? Am I hearing sirens in Chippewa Falls? Merrill, Wisconsin, by the way. Yeah, it looks like in Chippewa Falls, perhaps we do have some sirens going off. In Chippewa Falls, same threat as Eau Claire. Damaging wind is our biggest concern. All right, looks like the sirens are going off in Eau Claire and in Chippewa Falls now. So it's not for a tornado warning, though. These sirens are just going off for a severe storm warning. So as we take a look at radar here, you can see those. You can see pretty obviously where our line of storms is. Eau Claire, I'll circle for you right here, of course. Chippewa Falls up here. Bloomer is also included in this warning. And if we switch to our velocity, good thing is I'm not really seeing a lot of rotation, just a lot of strong wind. And that seems to be the case up and down the line right now. Like I said, I'm still looking at an area of potential rotation south of Eau Claire, closer to Mondovi and Osseo. So I do want to keep an eye on that. It's getting pretty close to Gilmanton out there. But in Eau Claire and La Crosse, you guys are hearing the sirens, but right now it is just a severe storm warning for 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Basically, don't go on the second floor of your house and don't go outside in this. So use common sense. You should be okay. Also looking at another storm here, just got severe warned. It is south of the one that we've been talking about. I'll get to Rochester there in a second for you too. This is sort of near Alma, moving into Arcadia, Wisconsin. So this right here is our storm that was just warned. You can kind of see perhaps a quasi hook on it. I'm not seeing much rotation, but another storm that is likely warned for damaging wind and quarter-sized hail. So that could do some damage. Just something we're going to keep an eye on. And once again, like I said, guys, I'm sure the National Weather Service is looking at this, but right near Mondovi, Oliva, Strum, and Osseo, I'm looking at an area of potential rotation. I would not be surprised if that gets warned for a tornado. Mondovi, let's see, Oliva, Strum, possibly. Give me 1 second. So that is a spot that I am continuing to watch right now for a potential, for the potential of a tornado. So keeping a close eye on that. Let's see what else we got going on here. Still have that one tornado warning in north central Minnesota. Let's get an update on that, although I know not a lot of people are out this way. It is a pretty sparsely populated area. You guys might have cabins out here. Wakanabo, again, I could be pronouncing that poorly. Palisade, Minnesota. We have this storm moving into that area. The rotation is not as strong as it was before, though, guys. I will say that much. So right here, you can see the red and green colors side by side. That is why we have a tornado warning here, along with that hook shape you're seeing. And by hook shape, I mean basically you're seeing this sort of appendage stick out from the bottom of the storm. When you get that hook shape, that's how you know there's some rotation ongoing out there. And we are going to continue to monitor that because this is our only tornado warned storm, but does not seem like there are many people out that way. So not the highest priority, but something that I am keeping an eye on. If you guys are just jumping on, by the way, and let me get some of your questions. Rochester right now, we got the storms moving in right into the downtown area. So Rochester right here, home of the Mayo Clinic, of course. The storms getting into Rochester right now, not warned for severe weather, but definitely producing some wind, heavy rain, of course, a lot of lightning. Let's see if we got any hail in here too. This is our debris tracker. Looks kind of sciencey here, doesn't it? But what I'm seeing, you see, so here's our radar site. It's out here by La Crosse. I'm trying to circle it. Let me zoom out a little bit. Actually, we'll do this. So our radar site is out here by La Crosse, all right? The radar right now is shooting beams out in every direction, and it's hitting some hail. And you can kind of see these green lines out here. That's the radar hitting hail and getting confused at what's going on. So what this says is that there are some hail cores, as we call them, right here, south of Reed's Landing, near Douglas, Minnesota, out in the Rochester area too. There's likely some hail. So our radar is shooting beams out. You can see it's hitting the hail, and then it's creating these sort of green colors behind it. That's basically a telltale sign of hail in a storm, and there are a lot of spots where hail is occurring. So if you're curious, that's what the radar is doing here. That's how I know there's hail occurring in this line. And we're seeing hail likely basically in every spot where we have these red and pink colors. In fact, I can open up one of our other radar products. And if I go to our VIL, as we call it, actually, you know what? We're going to go to the higher resolution. So you can kind of see here wherever we have these red colors, that tells you where the storm cores are. And when you have red colors in there, typically that means you have a lot of stuff in the cloud, and usually they have that much stuff, so to speak. You got to have hail in there too. So that's how you know where our hail is. And if we take a look, you can see Rochester is likely to get into some hail out there, along with some damaging wind too. Alma included in some places that are going to see hail. That's eventually going to move in the direction of places like Whitehall, Blair Taylor, Hickston. Arcadia is going to be pretty close to that too. Actually, if we go a little bit farther south to Kansas as well, and St. Joseph, by the way, is about to perhaps get a taste of some strong storms. This is where some of our biggest hailers are out here. You can see whenever you get those white colors, that's usually means you have either a ton of hail inside a storm cloud or you have some large hail. In this case, it may be both. But these storms out here in Kansas, likely some of the more damaging ones, as they are certainly producing large hail. So if anyone out there in Kansas lives between basically Abilene out into the St. Joseph area, that's where we're looking at the potential for some more activity in terms of wind and especially hail right now. Although the tornado threat certainly taking some time to get going out here. We're seeing more so hail and wind than tornadoes at this present moment. But here we are. So St. Joseph right now. I know we got Brianna out there, likely about to get into some hail if you're in St. Joseph, at least if you're on the south side of the city. That looks like what we're going to see here. One thing to say, you can also see this outflow boundary. You see that sort of faint blue line sort of spreading out here? That's a sign that these storms are becoming more outflow dominant, and that lowers the tornado threat. It means there's a cold pool of air underneath the storms, and that cold pool of air is preventing tornadoes from basically originating off the ground. So good news there. A couple more severe storms I'm going to get to. Then we're going to go back to Wisconsin. Still a couple severe storms out here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, we're looking at more individual storm cells. We have hail ongoing in basically each of these storms. No tornado tags, so not a ton of rotation. At least the National Weather Service doesn't see a ton of rotation. I haven't seen much when I've looked at these. But basically, Abilene, Texas, up into the Lawton, Oklahoma area, that is where we have storms ongoing right now. And many of them are severe, but none of them tornado warned. We do have more severe storms that have just popped up recently in Wisconsin. These are mainly in the north and eastern side of Wisconsin. So actually to the east of places like Rhinelander, to the northeast of Wausau. These storms out here in the north and eastern portion of Wisconsin now warned for severe weather. The warnings do not include tornadoes, but there is some rotation in this line, which is important to note because this line is trying to build a bit farther south as well. And let me take a look at Jefferson, Wisconsin for you too here really quick as well. But this is interesting. This is a more interesting development because this line previously was not doing too much. We do have some severe storms in northeastern Wisconsin, and that is, and actually, yeah, if we take a look at this, guys, I'm not seeing anything that immediately shouts tornado, but there are some areas of rotation for sure, at least some broad areas of rotation within these storms. So this is going to be interesting as it moves into the UP. And certainly it's going to be interesting as we see these storms extending now farther to the south. So while I didn't expect the biggest threat for severe weather would increase in eastern Wisconsin for a little while now, this is suggestive that places between Green Bay and down into places like Madison may end up facing a severe weather risk more so in the near term. So I was saying it would take about 2 hours for the real severe weather to get there. Based on what we're seeing here, these trends on radar, that threat may be increasing right now, and for that reason, you should be prepared in case a warning is issued where you are. I'm not seeing anything imminent at the moment, but that threat is starting to increase as a sort of two lines begin to develop out here. All right, Jefferson, Wisconsin, let me take a look at. Saw that question in YouTube chat, so let me get to Jefferson, give you an update so you can prepare. Just looking it up so I got the right location. So Jefferson included in that area I was just talking about. So it's definitely going to begin to rain in Jefferson pretty soon. That's in the eastern part of Wisconsin out here. There's no severe weather warnings right now, but I would be ready as these storms are likely to reach you within the next hour, if not even a little bit sooner. So you got at least 30 minutes. You got probably at most 60. We'll have to wait and see if the south side of this line really develops. That's going to be key in determining basically what ends up happening in the Jefferson area. So we do have to watch the trends on these storms, but there is a certain level of concern out there that I'm keeping an eye on. Let's see what else we got here. Realistically, what happens in La Crosse and Eau Claire? So La Crosse and Eau Claire, more or less, what I'm looking at is, there is a low tornado threat, a low to medium tornado threat in the Jefferson area. La Crosse and Eau Claire, really what I'm looking at is a threat that is beginning to increase. It's not the highest threat I've seen yet, but it is beginning to increase, and that's something that we need to be watching closely here because we have a line of storms moving through. Eau Claire is getting into the wind and rain, and actually for Eau Claire, it does seem like this is going to end up just being a damaging wind threat for now. But La Crosse, we still need to watch as that southern portion of the line is coming in, and until that southern portion gets in and out, that's still going to take about another half hour. You do need to be on watch in La Crosse for sure. Let's see. Might need to fix one of my radars here. Give me 1 second. Actually, trying to get back to my radar scope. Let me switch this to me here because I'm losing my radar. So let me flip back to me. As you can see, I'm streaming on YouTube as well. Give me a sec. My radar scope is crashing, so you get to look at me now while I answer your questions. What's up, guys? I'm going to switch to a different radar, actually. So give me one moment while I get us back online here. One of the things, though, like I was saying, with the severe storms is going to be the threat for damaging wind, hail, stuff like that as well. It's not just going to be the tornadoes, although that is one of our bigger threats. All right, we're back online. Let's switch back to our radar again. This is why it's handy to have two different radar apps. You can switch between them on a dime like that. So here we're back to, again, radar. Let me just get oriented again. There we go. All right, back on radar. So like I said, Eau Claire is getting into the storms right now. You can see that heaviest rain in the Eau Claire area ongoing at this moment. You got a lot of activity in this line. You certainly have some areas of rotation. No tornado warnings, though. Eau Claire, of course, right in the midst of this, as you can tell right here. So that's an area that, of course, if you're in Eau Claire, you're likely getting the wind. You're likely getting the rain now. Probably some thunder and lightning, I would assume, at this point, too, as this line moves into the area. Also want to mention, like I said, for you guys in La Crosse, you still got a little bit of time before that gets to you out here. But you can see this line, of course, producing some strong to severe storms in the Rochester area, moving in the direction of La Crosse at this moment. So you got probably about 45 more minutes in La Crosse, a half hour perhaps. That threat is beginning to increase out there now. All calm in Chippewa Falls. So if you're in Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, yeah, it's probably all calm for the moment. Give it about 5 minutes if you're in Chippewa, as this line starts to really get in. It's right there. Actually, if you live closer to Altoona, you might be all right. But that line is getting in here right now if you're out there. All right, glad we were able to switch our radars quickly and get back online here. So let's reset here. If you guys are just tuning in, I'll just introduce myself again. Hey everyone, I'm Tucker. I'm a meteorologist. I got my degree from Penn State. So I am legitimate in the sense that I've studied this. I work as a professional meteorologist. I've tracked tornado outbreaks on TV. I storm chase. So this is an area of expertise for me. So if you're new here, be sure to follow. If you're watching on TikTok, be sure to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, we continue to track severe weather this evening, and we track severe weather here whenever things pop up throughout tornado season. So like I said, be sure to subscribe and follow if you haven't already. If you have any questions, I'm doing my best to answer you guys in chat. If there are questions I don't get to, you can find me at Tucker Weather on Instagram as well. If you send me your questions there in a DM, I will respond to each and every one of you as soon as I wrap up the live, especially considering we still have a severe weather threat to the east as we get later into the evening. Later into the week. So tomorrow, that threat shifts farther east. And also, for those of you guys watching on TikTok, I am also streaming on YouTube right now as well. I'm doing my best to get to all your questions, but I can tell you, honestly, I will see them a lot quicker if you ask them on YouTube because, simply put, there are less of you on YouTube than on TikTok right now. So you can find me at Tucker Weather, and be sure to subscribe. I'm trying to build a community on there. If you guys want to learn anything about weather, you can always ask me your weather questions. I might turn them into a video. I just love talking weather, so happy to have you all here. Hopefully we can keep you safe tonight and this evening as we track storms, but also when the weather quiets down, if there's something you just always had a question about, feel free to ask. I'm the one you can ask these things to, and I would be happy to answer. Also, if you guys are ever curious about behind-the-scenes stuff in TV, I love talking about my life and how I became a meteorologist. So, no questions off limits. You can ask anything. Well, there are some questions that are off limits, but you can ask anything related to weather or my career, stuff like that. Happy to share and hopefully provide some information and teach some things, all that stuff. And of course, tonight the goal is just to keep you guys safe and prepared for these storms that are moving through. All right, so a bunch of you guys jumping on to YouTube right now. I'm looking at some questions on TikTok as well. Mondovi, I'm looking at what will be likely you're going to have a severe storm moving through the Mondovi area. Damaging wind is a real possibility, although that tornado threat, actually, if you're Mondovi, the worst of it's passed through you now. So you get a lot of the wind. That threat's slowly decreasing, though. Rochester, right now, I'm looking at the greatest risk is actually, Rochester, you're in it. You're literally in the worst of it right here. Rochester getting kind of hit hard by that rain, that wind. May not be severe wind gusts, but certainly heavy rain out there without a doubt. So you're really into it now. Appleton, Wisconsin. On the other side of the state, we do have some storms that are popping up. Some of them are severe. So if you're in Appleton, be prepared for some heavy rain and possibly some damaging wind out there in the next 30 minutes. So that's getting up to you pretty quickly. Good question. How do you get hail with 73-degree weather? Now, here's the interesting thing, guys, about hail. This is really interesting, and a lot of people don't know much about this aspect of hail. But what happens with hail has a lot to do with what's happening higher up in the atmosphere. So you really need cold temperatures about 5,000 to 10,000 feet up. And if it's cold higher up, you're going to produce more hail. Because your updrafts are going to be much stronger, hoisting that hail higher up into a cloud, and it won't melt as much when it falls down. Quick update, interruption, guys. Again, I'm looking at this area. I talked about it a few times. Near Mondovi, you're in the clear for now. But near Oliva, Osseo, Augusta, I am looking at an area here where there may be some rotation. I've been talking about this area for a while. If you've been on here, I've been watching this very closely. I do believe we may get a tornado warning for this portion of the line right here, south of Eau Claire, but passing very close to the south and to the east of Eau Claire. There is an area of rotation that I do have some concern about. You can see those red and green colors side by side. That's partially just because the radar is I'm not too worried about that cut in half here, but it's this spot right here. You see that bright pink color? That looks to me like an area of rotation, and if we switch to our reflectivity here, you are seeing also sort of a hook-like shape. To be honest, if I worked at the National Weather Service, I do not, but if I did, I think I would probably warn that for a tornado personally. So what I'll tell you right now is if there is a tornado warning, it would be for areas including Fall Creek, Augusta, basically the eastern half of Eau Claire County. And there it is, right there. Tornado warning just issued for those exact areas I was talking about. You can see my tornado box right over theirs. So that area I was looking at, just tornado warned. Fall Creek, Augusta, as I mentioned, included in this. Really everything in the eastern portion of Eau Claire County. See, that right there, guys, is why there is some value in watching an actual meteorologist cover some of the severe weather, someone who's got experience in this, because that was something that, I can see coming sometimes ahead of the National Weather Service, and they're the best at what they do, by the way, but they have a lot of stuff going on, more than just tornado warnings, so sometimes we're able to get that information out to you before them even. But like I said, we're looking at Augusta, Fall Creek, Lincoln, some small neighborhoods in there, Clayhorn, Allen, Foster. So this is an area that there is now a tornado warning for the exact reasons I mentioned. Here's our area of rotation, as I showed you before. And, of course, on our reflectivity, what you're used to seeing, we have this sort of hook-like shape right out here. So that is our tornado warning. Good call by the National Weather Service, of course. And if there was a tornado on the ground right now, it would sort of be in a very rural area, just north of Oliva. So that is where it would be. Rochester, Minnesota right now. Do not expect there to be a tornado. I see a lot of you guys asking questions about that. Only tornado warning active right now is this one now in Eau Claire County. I will jump back to this tornado warning out here as well. This is in central Minnesota. It is moving in the direction of Palisade. We've been talking about this one for a little while. This storm continuing to indicate some rotation, though nothing significant. But you can still see this area here where there is some rotation within the storm. So if you're near Wakanabo or Palisade, Minnesota, that is something to keep an eye on, and I'll continue to watch that with you as well. But we did just get that tornado warning, as I mentioned, for portions of Eau Claire County. Still waiting to get a radar update, but if there was a tornado, guys, I can say pretty confidently that, we just got our radar update. And it's still an if there was a tornado, it would be right around here, right where those two colors are meeting. And if we switch over to our reflectivity here, again, you can see that hook-like shape we got. So again, tornado would be right around here, passing near Clayhorn and Allen. I lived in Eau Claire for 2 years. I didn't even know where those were, so I assume those are some pretty small places. Fall Creek, though, basically between Fall Creek and Augusta, that's where the most dangerous part of the storm is going to pass. Probably right between the two. So if you live between Fall Creek and Augusta, that's where the greatest threat right now is going to be here. So we continue to watch this one very closely. Some other questions I see coming in. Marshfield, that threat's going to increase for you in about the next hour. Seeing some questions. Mason City. If you're in Mason City, Iowa, one of the more interesting things about Mason City is that we do have storms beginning to develop on the south side of this line. And with more development on the south side of this, storms will likely reach Mason City in about the next half hour to hour. There is a severe storm warning here near Algona. We got 1-inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that is going to be a spot to watch, as well as this is in a spot where it's favorable for rotation, so we have to watch that more or less. So Mason City, you still got a little time before things really ramp up, but that's an area that I am keeping a close eye on as well. Out here by Kansas, been talking about these storms for a little while. They're becoming outflow dominant, which reduces the tornado threat. You can kind of see that thin gray line there. You see what I'm talking about on radar? See it extending out from the storms? When storms become outflow dominant, the severe weather threat, at least the tornado threat rather, decreases. But the severe weather threat is still present. So with that, let's see. Give me one sec. There we go. Just getting an update on radar there. Basically, with the outflow dominant storms that we're seeing here in Kansas, that tells us there is cold air, more stable air near the ground. Okay, this is really interesting. And that stable air is being produced by the storms themselves. As that rain falls, some of it evaporates and it cools the air. And you get this colder, stable air near the surface. And with that colder, stable air near the surface, the tornado threat decreases temporarily or entirely. But you still have the potential for hail, especially, and damaging wind is a concern along some of the outflow here. So you could actually have some strong wind out here and not just beneath the storms. Speaking of, we do have a severe storm warning now for the St. Joseph, Kansas area. 2-inch hail and 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts as this strong storm moves into the area. Kansas City, really not in that spot that we're seeing severe weather right now. However, there may be some more storms that, well, you know what? Actually, Kansas City may end up okay tonight, because if this outflow boundary sort of stalls out here, these storms are likely going to continue to stay on the north side. So Kansas City, you know what? If you're out there, you may end up okay. It's something we need to watch. But the greatest severe weather threat certainly is extending at this point from Abilene, Kansas into St. Joseph. And this will continue into the northwestern portion of Missouri based on what I'm seeing right here. I'm also just going to give us a quick look back at Oklahoma. Then we're going to go back north to Minnesota and Wisconsin. Abilene, Texas, we got a severe storm, some damaging wind. We got some large hail near the Red River here, sort of on the border of Oklahoma and Texas, but that's about it. Actually, guys, in case anyone's interested, I actually just saw a few tornadoes. Saw 3 tornadoes in one day. Went storm chasing earlier this week, right near Silverton, Matador, and Roaring Springs. And if you're interested, go check out my YouTube channel or TikTok, because I posted videos of all the tornadoes and some pretty insane hail. So some interesting stuff there too, in case you're curious. I'm taking you back to the Eau Claire County tornado warning. However, we're going to get another update on this. What we're seeing here is not as good a look, in a good way for us, as what we were seeing before. So more or less here, while we did have that more hook-like shape, you see how there was kind of that hook shape there? That was about 5 minutes ago. At this point now, we're not seeing that hook shape as clearly. So the good news here is that, if there was a tornado, it would likely be right around here. But the possibility of a tornado actually, you know what? I was going to say seems to be decreasing. We still have to get an update on our wind velocity, but there is still a couple up there. This storm continuing to move, again, right between Augusta and Fall Creek is what we're looking at. I'll take a look at Shoring, Wisconsin for you in a minute. But yes, I've been using Radar Scope and Radar Omega tonight. Those are the two that you have seen. Let's see here. Looking up some locations for you guys. Basically, if you're out by Shoring, Wisconsin, and that includes anything in eastern Wisconsin, there is the potential for some damaging wind, large hail. There is still the possibility of a tornado, but right now, storms are really just getting going out there. Nothing too impressive out in that direction quite yet. But I am watching, like I said, continuing to watch all these areas for you guys. Let's see here. Good question. So, if you are in somewhere like, let's get an idea here. And let me switch to our reflectivity. If you are somewhere like Marshfield, and you live, so I see that question. So if you're in Marshfield, you live in an apartment. If you live in the highest floor of your apartment, if it's just a severe storm, you're okay in your apartment. But if you get a tornado warning and you live in the highest floor of an apartment, I would recommend going to the lowest floor and just sitting in the hallway out there. I wouldn't stay on the highest floor if there's a tornado warning out there. You're just best off getting a little bit farther south. So that would be what I would recommend here for that one. Let's see. If you're in Beaver Dam, good question. So we're looking at that severe weather threat again, primarily damaging wind as it appears now, but there is still a tornado threat. And you just got to be aware for a little while longer tonight. Eau Claire. What I'm looking at in Eau Claire, again, is not a tornado threat in the city, but there is a tornado warning south and east of Eau Claire. If you're in Fall Creek or Augusta, you have to be in your safe place right now. There is likely to be some hail if you're out in Oshkosh. Please don't spam the chat. Let's see. If you're in La Crosse, that severe weather threat is going to be increasing as we head into the next hour or so. So you can see this line of storms out here. It is still moving to the east. La Crosse in about an hour. The line of storms has slowed down a bit, but still on its way into the La Crosse area. It'll be there pretty soon. The severe weather threat does not look to be as high as we were worried about, though. At least at this time, I'm not seeing it as significant. Yes, there is a tornado watch, yes, in the La Crosse area. Madison, Wisconsin, you are at risk for tornadoes. I wouldn't call it a high risk for tornadoes, but there is certainly a risk for tornadoes out there, considering that there is a lot of spin in the atmosphere, and these storms will be able to absorb that spin and potentially turn that into tornadoes. I want to give an update here, by the way. Actually, this is a more concerning sign, this tornado warned storm in southeastern Eau Claire County. What I'm looking at is actually two areas that may potentially be or may have produced tornadoes. We have this right here. And then we just got a confirmed tornado as well. So right here, it looks as though we may have had a tornado on the ground briefly, if it's not still on the ground, right near Allen, Wisconsin. This is just south of Eau Claire. That is now a confirmed tornado, guys, a confirmed tornado. Let's see if we got this from Storm Chasers. Radar confirmed tornado. So this tornado is now confirmed to be on the ground in Eau Claire County. I'm trying to get an idea of what we may be seeing on our debris tracker. They often confirm tornadoes from that. And it does look as though, yes, wow. So we did have debris within this storm. It's this right here. You see that blue bullseye? Let me actually zoom out so you guys see that better. So you see this blue bullseye right here? This was as the storm was moving into that area. That blue bullseye tells us that this tornado lifted some debris into the air, and you can see it sort of spread out. It kind of dissipates now, but there was certainly a tornado that was on the ground. Gosh, that may have hit Mondovi earlier. Let's see what happened here. So this tornado may have began in the Mondovi area. Yes, Drake, likely to be hail in Oshkosh. Please don't spam the chat, dude. Let's see. We do have some rotation also on the south end of this. So it looks as though we did just have a tornado. I am not seeing as much evidence that it's still out there, but I'm also looking at the potential for a tornado on the south end of this warning. So if you're in Augusta, Wisconsin, you're in this tornado warning, you have to be down in your safe place right now, because I am seeing an area of rotation possibly form in an area that would be reaching the Augusta vicinity, we'll call it. So if you're in Augusta, make sure you're heading down to your safe place right now. I am looking at the potential for a tornado out there. Again, Augusta, and it gets pretty rural once you get through there, but be careful out there. That first tornado that was confirmed, I'm not seeing as much evidence of rotation now. Of course, good news there, but nonetheless, it does appear that we did have a tornado, at least briefly, on the ground. And there was debris detected, so it likely hit something. Kind of concerning nonetheless, obviously. All right. Let's see what we got here. Give me one moment. Just getting some updates. All right. Okay, so just getting some radar updates for you guys. Tell me where Watertown is. I'll get you an answer there. Yeah, so if you're in Eau Claire, the city itself, or Chippewa, that severe weather threat's actually quickly decreasing. Sounds like the sky looks yellow. That would be the sun shining off the tops of the clouds. By the way, for those of you guys who are just tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube or on TikTok, just to reintroduce myself, my name's Tucker. I'm a meteorologist. I got my degree from Penn State in meteorology. I work professionally as a meteorologist on TV in Boston. I used to work at WEAU in Eau Claire, so some of you guys watching may know me from there. But my point is, you're going to get good weather information here. I storm chase. I've tracked tornado outbreaks. Information you can trust will be coming from me, and for that reason, consider following here on TikTok. Consider subscribing on YouTube. There's a lot of people out there on the internet, frankly, who don't know what they're talking about, but I can promise you that this is information you're getting from me that you can trust, and you always will be able to. So consider following. As I've mentioned before, if you're watching on TikTok, there's a lot of you on there, and I'm really happy to have you here. But if you have any questions, I might not see them. So you can find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube, where I'm also streaming, and I will be able to see your questions a lot quicker there. Also going to mention too, if you guys have questions I don't get to or I'm just not seeing, you can find me on Instagram at Tucker Weather. Look me up there, follow me, send me a message. I'll respond to each and every one of you guys as soon as I wrap up this live. So we'll be tracking these storms for a while tonight, but especially if you guys are in places where there's going to be severe weather tomorrow and you have questions, you can always find me on Instagram, ask me your questions there. But like I said, consider following. This is weather information you can trust and information that honestly, you're going to have a hard time finding elsewhere, as I do feel pretty confident my coverage is some of the best you'll find. Not to sound cocky, but this is my area of highest expertise. So it's information I know you can trust. I'm still looking at an area of rotation here near Foster, moving in the direction of Augusta. They are still confirming there is a tornado on this storm, although I'm not seeing as much evidence that one is on the ground, but this was a confirmed tornado at one point. There is certainly some hail in this, certainly some strong wind as well. And especially in the Augusta area, it is likely you are going to get into some strong wind here. Radar measuring wind speeds as high as 75 miles per hour. And that can be even stronger with gusts. So there may be some damage in the Augusta Fall Creek area just from wind, especially near Augusta. Getting to some of the questions in chat here. Hey, happy to do this, Izzy. Thanks for being here. Economawak, I expect that threat's going to increase in the next 2 to 3 hours. You're sort of in the middle of everything right now, which is not a bad place to be, but you need to wait as we got to watch these storms. We got to see what happens as we get later into tonight out there. Janesville, there is a severe weather threat, but it's a little bit lower. That threat in Janesville comes a bit later. Yes, it is true. There is a radar-confirmed tornado in Eau Claire County, not in Eau Claire, the city itself. Just want to make that clear, guys. If you're in Eau Claire, there has been a radar-confirmed tornado in the county, not in the city of Eau Claire. The tornado was likely between Mondovi and we'll call it Allen. So pretty rural areas, but there was likely a tornado. It likely touched down just to the north and east of Mondovi and made its way into Eau Claire County. There was a tornado, though. I'm hoping it didn't hit Mondovi. I don't believe it did, but we don't really know for sure right now. Janesville, that threat is going to increase as we get into the overnight hours, so it may be closer to, if you're in Janesville, that tornado threat may be increasing closer to more like 11 o'clock your time. So it's going to take some time for that storm activity to really get out your direction. Let's see. Platteville is in an area where we are looking at the threat for severe weather. Yes. And that will be coming later on tonight as well. So those of you guys who are in places that have not seen severe weather yet, what I want you to do is really I want you to be thinking about where you're going to go if there is a warning, but also make sure emergency alerts are turned on your phone, because your phone will make noise. If there's a tornado warning and it's in your area, your phone will make noise for you, and you will be able to hopefully be woken up by that if there is a tornado warning. So you'll want to do that just to keep yourself safe. Trempealeau, La Crosse, Wisconsin. Trempealeau is going to get into this strong wind, heavy rain here pretty soon. La Crosse will as well. La Crosse, they're still about 45 minutes out as the storms have slowed down a bit. Trempealeau, only about 15 minutes before you get into that wind and rain, although the severe weather threat in those areas is not as high as feared, but there is still that threat that we need to be watching closely. Let's see, Racine, nothing at the moment, but later tonight, certainly there is a chance for some severe weather. I'm going to be watching that too. If you're in Minneapolis, you already got some storms. The good news with Minneapolis right now is that the main line of storms has passed. The bad news is that there are a few storms on the backside here that may end up coming through Minneapolis. So this guy, for example, right here, looks like it's going to end up making its way through the Minneapolis area. So if you're in Minneapolis, don't let your guard down yet, but the worst of this is over. It's just not completely over. So you got to stay alert if you're out there. Toma, you're going to be getting into, if you're not already, you're going to be getting into some of the heavy rain, the strong wind. I don't see any threats beyond that in Toma at the moment. Winona, same thing. Heavy rain, strong wind, but I'm not seeing anything beyond that at this moment. As I zoom out, I still don't see any other tornado warnings, so we're keeping this here on Eau Claire County. Watching for any rotation here. The rotation is more diffuse. Good news. That means our storms appear to be weakening. That said, if you're in an area where there is a tornado warning, you have to stay in your safe place. But right now, that tornado threat seems to have decreased, at least for the time being. All right, let's see. La Crosse, the threat for a tornado in La Crosse right now is not super high. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but of course, that threat is certainly not over. That is something that I'm continuing to watch very closely, is you guys in La Crosse area, as I mentioned. If we zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see the area as a whole here. Just that one tornado warning in Eau Claire County, that's our only tornado warning active right now, and the tornado threat appears to be lessening just a bit now. If you're out by Racine, Kenosha, we're watching this second line of storms that's trying to develop. Even if this doesn't get its act together, the initial line of storms will be moving through there later tonight. So it could be a little bit of a double whammy, but what I will say, guys, is that these storms clearly are having a hard time tapping into the high amounts of spin in the atmosphere. So while we are looking at severe weather and while there have been tornado warnings, honestly, I feared that tonight would be worse. So we're doing okay relative to expectations right now. That said, you still need to be on high alert, of course. Oklahoma, good question. Haven't talked too much about Oklahoma recently, so let's get down there. There is a cluster of severe storms kind of getting a little messy now out by Altus and actually sort of near the Childress, Texas area. So we're looking at the far southwestern corner of Oklahoma. Otherwise, there is not a lot of storm activity in Oklahoma right now. It's really just that far southwestern corner. We do have a severe storm just north of Abilene right now as well. This has been sitting here for a while. Likely a flash flooding threat going to be emerging in Texas. I'll be watching these storms tonight. There is a tornado threat with some of these, but it's not super high. But it's something that we'll be keeping an eye on for sure if you're out there. Same thing, quick update for you guys in Kansas. Basically between Abilene, Kansas into St. Joseph. That's where we have a line of storms. And you know what? The biggest concern here looks like it's going to end up being flooding. Because you can see these storms, we call them training storms, when they just go in a line like that and never really seem to end. So that is a spot that we are keeping a close eye on right now, too, is where these storms are training. Dubuque, Iowa. So with Iowa right now, the greatest severe weather threat at this moment, is really just the north central and the northwestern part of the state. Now, there is a very real possibility that these storms end up staying just on the north side of Iowa. One of the biggest questions with Iowa, and something that we need to watch, will be these storms right here closer to Des Moines. If these storms can get going in central Iowa, what we're going to end up seeing is a tornado threat for sure. And that would end up reaching Dubuque in the next 2 to 3 hours. So it's still a ways out. But what we're looking at here in central Iowa is the potential for a couple of these storms to become supercellular and produce tornadoes later on. But right now, that's still a question mark. If storms get going, they'll be strong. But the question mark is if. You could end up seeing clear skies, or you could end up seeing a strong, really strong storm. It's a tough one, but it's really boom or bust if you're in Iowa. But we're watching the trends there. Hawaii, you're all good. You're all good in Hawaii. Let's see. Northern Illinois, that threat increases later on tonight. So if you're in the Chicago area, there is a severe weather threat, but it is going to be on the lower side relative to what we're seeing right now. The YouTube channel is at Tucker Weather, by the way. Those of you guys on TikTok watching out there. And by the way, if you're on TikTok, for whatever reason, if you like the live, usually gets more people on, so that's always appreciated. All right, let's see what else we got here. Central Wisconsin. So you can see right now we have activity across the state of Wisconsin. Most of the activity is in the western part of the state. We do have some strong storms in the far northeastern part of the state too. What we're going to be talking about over the next few hours is this line of storms, though, in western Wisconsin and into southeastern Minnesota. This eventually is going to be moving east across the state. To be honest, I did expect that what we would be looking at here would be more tornadic activity. It's been quiet relative to expectations so far, which is good for you guys in central Wisconsin. We may end up getting a situation where severe weather does not end up being quite as widespread as expected. That said, we already do have some confirmed tornadoes, so we do need to be on high alert. And speaking of, we did just get a new tornado warning. This is still for Eau Claire County in Wisconsin, luckily getting into the forest area, so it's not as populated. But a new tornado warning just issued in Eau Claire County. Looks like they are warning. Remember, I was talking about Augusta earlier. That is an area where we are seeing some rotation, at least I believe out here. That is some strong wind at the very least out there south of Augusta. You guys hopefully are in a safe place if you're out there. This is moving into the forest, like I said, so not a lot of people going to be impacted by this warning. But if there is a tornado, it would likely be south of Augusta right now. But if you are anywhere in the eastern half of Eau Claire County, you got to be heading down to the basement right now. Eau Claire Forest, like I said, Clark County Forest. Yeah, this is really moving into areas that are not very populated. But Ludington, Wilson, also Stanley. Boyd is not included in this, but if you're near Stanley or Thorpe, those are places that I would be heading down to the basement now, as this tornado warning may very well get extended a bit farther to the north and east here. So this is our new warning. Still looking at eastern Eau Claire County for a potential tornado. This is not a radar confirmed tornado, but we do have a new warning currently ongoing right now in this part of the county. Eau Claire, the city itself, you are actually in the clear. So if you're in Eau Claire, you're all good at this point. Not the case, though, if you are in the eastern side of the county. Also worth noting, Clark County. There is now a severe storm warning for at least 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So damaging wind is possible if you're in Clark County, north of Neillsville, though. North of Neillsville. All right, let me just get a quick scan. So this is still where the most active weather is occurring. This portion of the line, our only tornado warnings at this moment are in this area. Oh, hey, Madison, if you get any good pictures of the Mammatus clouds, send them to me. I'd love to share those. Some of you guys, sounds like some of you guys might be seeing some of those bumpy clouds. Some of those bumpy clouds on the backside of this storm. Those are called Mammatus. If you see those little bubbles underneath the storm clouds, they're really cool. They're really cool if you see them. All right, let's see what else we got here. Still continuing to watch this line of storms. Yeah, the second tornado warning in Eau Claire County that we just talked about. It's still for the same storm. It's still for the same storm. Not a confirmed tornado this time though. Yeah, Mammatus clouds are really cool, guys. If you get a chance to see them, they're pretty sweet. So Lake Winnebago, that's a good question. Does Lake Winnebago help prevent tornadoes? It's a tricky answer. The answer is Lake Winnebago likely is not large enough to prevent tornadoes. We just got an extension on that tornado warning, like I said a moment ago. Let's get to that in a second. But no, Lake Winnebago likely not big enough to prevent tornadoes. Lake Michigan, little different. So if you guys are seeing, I know, so my Wisconsin fam on here on YouTube and on TikTok, Wisconsin fam, if you're seeing any cool pictures, you can send them to me at Tucker Weather on Instagram. I'd love to see what you're seeing. Yes, there was a confirmed tornado. Let's see. In the Aliva area, yeah, it looked like just north of Aliva, there was a confirmed tornado. If you want to see a tornado, take a look at some of my most recent videos, YouTube Shorts and TikTok. I just finished up a storm chase, and we saw 3 tornadoes in one day. It was pretty cool. A lot of lightning in Chippewa, huh? All right, Chippewa, seeing a lot of lightning. Probably on the top side of the storms. Those would be called anvil crawlers. That's pretty cool. I wish I was out there. Not as cool, the fact that we just did have this tornado warning extended through portions of Clark County, as I mentioned a moment ago. Longwood and Greenwood, Wisconsin, included in this tornado warning. Looks like some large hail moving into the Wilson area as well in northeast Eau Claire County. So a lot of activity still going on with this storm. Shuring, you are done with that severe weather right now, Lux. All right. Still looking at this potential tornado, though. Again, just south of Augusta. This would pose a threat for Greenwood, Wisconsin, with the track it's on right now. As I mentioned a moment ago, too, we definitely do have likely some hail in here, too. Let me see if I can get a hail tracker here for you. But nonetheless, there is at least some heavy rain, some strong wind, likely some hail out here in the Wilson area. That is something that you will not want to be outside in, of course. You can see that purple color indicating where that hail looks most impressive. Let's see. So if you're in Toma, basically really anything in western Wisconsin, you are going to be impacted by some of these storms. Even if the storms are not where you are right now, Osseo down through basically along 94 into Black River Falls and into La Crosse, this line of storms is not going to miss. What I will say is that right now this line of storms south of Eau Claire is not producing much severe weather. Doesn't mean it's going to stay like that, but at least for now we're doing all right. Yeah, so if you are in Eau Claire itself, the worst is over in Shuring, Lux, okay? The worst is over there. So basically, if you are in Eau Claire or Chippewa Falls or Bloomer, if you're anywhere in that metro area, the worst of this is now over. The worst of it's now over. It's to the east of you. Unless we get something on the backside of this, you are in the clear. If you're in La Crosse, you are not yet in the clear. Black River Falls, we are still looking at the potential in Black River Falls for severe weather, including a low chance for a tornado. And that threat's increasing in the next 30 minutes out there. So still watching that. Portage, Wisconsin, was that Portage, Wisconsin or Portage, Michigan? Let me see what that was. Portage, Wisconsin. Let me get a look at Portage, Wisconsin for you too. Used to Portage, Michigan. So let me get an idea where that is. All right, so if you're in Portage, basically the threat for severe weather is going to be increasing over the next few hours. You mainly are waiting for this line of storms to get in. So I don't yet have a perfect time frame, but it's going to be at least a couple hours before these storms reach Portage and much of the central part of the state. Des Moines, Iowa, right now it's pretty quiet in Iowa, but what we are watching are these storms here. And if they can get their act together, there will be a tornado threat in Des Moines. There is a big question mark. It's a big if they can get their act together. But if they do, in about the next hour, Des Moines will get a bit more active. So I am keeping an eye on that. We will need to watch that. Otherwise, the majority of activity is still here in Eau Claire County, moving into Clark County now. Let's see what else we have here. If you're out in Yeah, La Crosse is still going to be hit by some strong wind, heavy rain at least, possibly a tornado. Madison still at least, Madison's still at least a couple hours, might be a few hours before these storms reach Madison. So certainly more so at night. Hey, Kayla, I'm glad it missed your mom's place because there was a confirmed tornado out there. Stevens Point, yeah. So same thing with the Wausau area, rapids out there. If you're in the very central part of Wisconsin, this threat is going to be increasing closer to about 10 p.m. your time. So you still have a bit of time. 9:30 to 10 p.m. is when that threat starts to get a bit higher. Madison, again, this is going to be closer to about 11 p.m. If you're in Madison, still have that severe weather threat out there. Toronto, you're okay. If you're in Canada, at least, you're all right out there. Eau Claire is in the clear now. Eau Claire, the city of Eau Claire is in the clear. So if you're in Eau Claire, you're all good there. The storms have now passed you to the east, luckily. By the way, if you guys are just tuning in, Lux, I told you, Shuring, you're all good, bro. You're all good. Yeah, so Chippewa Falls, you are in the clear. Even if there's a tornado warning, I can tell the storm has passed through. You're all good in Chippewa. By the way, if you guys are just tuning in here, welcome aboard. My name is Tucker. I'm a meteorologist. Some of you guys have been following along for a while. Happy to have you back here as we cover severe weather again. If you're new, I'm a meteorologist. I have a lot of experience in tracking severe weather, so consider following here on TikTok or subscribing here on YouTube, whatever you're watching on. You're always going to get good information. I'm never going to hype. I'm going to give it to you how I see it. So this is information that you can trust in these videos, in these lives. And so like I said, there's a lot of people out there who really, honestly, don't really know what they're talking about, but I'm not one of them. So consider following because you're going to get good, trustworthy information here. Honestly, these days on the internet, I got to say, that's hard to find. But if you have any questions, I'll give you genuine answers and I'll give you genuine coverage too. Always, always. Those of you guys who are on TikTok, by the way, consider checking out YouTube at Tucker Weather. I'm streaming there also. I do regular weather updates, and I do my best to keep you guys more up to date on YouTube, and I think YouTube's fun. I'm trying to build a more of a community out there too. All right, let me get an update for you in Tomah, Wisconsin. One of the spots that was previously in the area I used to work. So give me one moment. Well, I just get a little more radar data too. So if you're in Tomah, that threat's going to be increasing in the next 90 minutes out there in Tomah. 90 minutes from now. That's how much time you got. By the way, if you guys are also watching and you're in Wisconsin, especially in western Wisconsin, I used to work at WEAU Channel 13. So if you guys remember me from there, I really miss you all. I loved my days when I lived in Eau Claire. I certainly miss it a lot out there. Let's see. But yes, I was showing earlier. I was showing off my mug here. My WEAU mug. There it is. Back when I worked there. Here it is. Channel 13. Back in the day. My old workplace. Yes, it is me. You may remember me. I used to do that point. First News at 9 starts right now. That was always my thing. I don't know why I started doing that, but yeah, Channel 13 News. That was where I started my career. A lot of fun memories. Mads, you're all good in Toronto. Let's see. If you're in Marshfield, I would stay up a bit longer tonight. Marshfield, Wisconsin, that would be. Because the threat is big enough, it's worth it. The storms will get there in the next 90 minutes or so also, so you don't need to wait too long, but I would be careful out there and just play it safe. Yeah, I love it. I miss Eau Claire a lot, guys. I really do. I really do. I spent a lot of time out, out exploring. I was in Eau Claire during the pandemic, and it made it hard to do a lot of things, but I still made the most of it. I still got out to Water Street plenty of times before the pandemic began. So many biking trails, played a lot of tennis out there. I lived right across from Carson Park. I lived right on Half Moon Lake, so easy to walk and do a lot of activities out there and stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So So Kenosha and Racine, this threat's going to come likely after midnight out there. So if you're in the eastern part of Wisconsin, make sure you have a way to get warnings. Sleep with your phone nearby and make sure emergency alerts are on, because if there is a tornado warning, your phone would make noise and it would likely wake you up, which is what you would need in a situation like this. Southern Wisconsin certainly could be getting severe weather here tonight. I expect that threat is going to be highest in the next, well, it may take a few hours for that threat to increase in southern Wisconsin, but there is certainly a concern for some severe weather, whether it's tornadoes or just damaging wind. Hey, that's my thing, Brianna. I don't hype stuff up. When people hype stuff up, it kind of annoys me. Kyle wants to be a storm chaser. I respect it, bro. If you guys like storm chasing, I did just storm chase in Texas. Got some really cool tornado videos. So if you're interested, check out my latest videos on YouTube and on TikTok. I cross-post all the time. Got some really cool tornado videos on there from my last storm chase. I just got back. A lot of questions about Eau Claire still. If you're in Eau Claire, you are in the clear now. Eau Claire, you are all good. The severe weather threat has passed you to the east now. So Eau Claire is in the clear. Chippewa Falls is in the clear. Bloomer is in the clear as well. So you guys all in the clear out there. Menominee is also in the clear. Red Wing, Minneapolis are clear. If you're in La Crosse, if you're in Black River Falls, if you're in Winona, you are not yet in the clear. Rochester, Minnesota, you're all good out there, by the way. Rochester is now in the clear. All right, let's see. Got a question about Kansas, so I'm going to jump back to Kansas now. How high is the tornado threat in Topeka? So here's the thing. These storms quickly became outflow dominant, and they've pushed some colder air into the Topeka area. If you're in Topeka, it probably feels a bit colder than it did a little earlier today, probably than it did about an hour ago. So that means the tornado threat has decreased very quickly in Topeka. Topeka is going to be right in the border of some of these storms. You may end up just hearing a lot of thunder and lightning in the vicinity, and there may not be any severe weather in Topeka altogether, but we need to keep an eye on Topeka in case some of these storms do manage to get into the area. The threat would be mainly for damaging wind if storms get in. The tornado threat, though, does appear comparably lower. St. Joseph just went through a pretty nice storm out there. Did you see anything out there, Brianna? I'm seeing a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust, half-dollar-sized hail at worst. Looks like the worst of it stayed to the south of St. Joseph, though. And still tracking some severe weather in Oklahoma, although this does not look very organized. It's kind of just a clump of storms. Nothing crazy ongoing out there at this moment. So good news on that. Most of the activity right now is confined to Wisconsin and Minnesota. We still have that tornado warning moving into Clark County. Let's get an update here. I'm going to switch over to our velocity. And we still have some diffuse rotation on the front side of this line. Looks like the storm is trying to do something, but is having a hard time getting organized. This is moving into the forested area, so to be honest, there is not a lot of people living out here. We're just going to keep a close eye on this because it will be reaching the Greenwood area soon, and if you're in Greenwood, Wisconsin, you should be ready for some damaging wind at least. There is still the potential for a tornado in this part of the storm, and that would be moving in the direction of Greenwood, Wisconsin. It's about 15 minutes away, so you do have to be in your safe place right now. Because you are in that tornado warning. Alrighty. Let's see. Northeastern Wisconsin, you did have a couple of severe storms that popped up earlier. I expect that severe weather threat, it's going to last a bit longer, but more so, yeah, you know what? It looks like a lower to medium-sized severe weather risk in northeastern Wisconsin, but you're more likely to just get some more garden variety storms. More thunder, more lightning, more heavy rain. There may be a severe storm, but it's more likely most of those storms will not be severe. Nasty, dark, and windy. That sounds about right, Brianna. Let's see. Northern Minnesota. I'll take a look for you out there. I was tracking some severe storms there earlier. Still some strong storms in northern Minnesota. We got mainly this one right here moving near Floodwood in Minnesota. That's going to be passing to the north, likely just to the north of Duluth. But otherwise, not a lot of severe weather in northern Minnesota right now. Just some regular thunderstorms. A couple are strong, but nothing crazy. Yeah, if you're in Iowa right now, the storms are mainly being confined to the northern part of the state. So interesting thing with Iowa here, guys, is that with Iowa, what we're looking at is an atmosphere that's well capped. And that's preventing a lot of storms from really bursting. That severe weather potential is not as high as it could be because we have a cap in place across the state of Iowa. So because there's a cap, storms are having a hard time getting going. If any of these storms can really break through, what will end up happening is we may have one or two very powerful storms in Iowa, but right now we just simply don't have that impulse that's really getting them going yet. Let's see. Northeast Wisconsin, temps never got as high as they thought. They are in the low 50s. So interesting. Okay, so that's a good note. So temps in the low 50s. A report I just got from Errorless Fawn on YouTube. And that's important to note because what that means is that the warm front hasn't gotten into northwestern or northeastern Wisconsin. So if this is our warm front here, my poorly drawn warm front, the tornado threat really will decrease quickly once storms cross that warm front because they're not going to be surface-based. They're going to be elevated, as we say. And that means the base of those storms is a little too high up for tornadoes to reach the ground. There's a stable layer near the ground, essentially. So if you're in northeast Wisconsin and it's in the 50s, that's severe weather threat likely on the lower end where you are. So that's certainly some good news there. Let's see. Continuing to track these storms here. My TikTok live has been a little weird, so I may temporarily stop the TikTok live and start it again, by the way. If I do, just pop back on. It'll only be off for a few minutes. But TikTok is mad at me for something. I don't know what I did. 65 in Tomahawk, certainly strong enough for tornadoes. Platteville. Let me get an update for you in Platteville. Again, most of the threat is still in the western part of the state, and it is not producing as much severe weather as previously expected. So definitely some good news on that front there. If you're in Platteville, you still got a few hours before that severe weather threat really increases out there. So you still have some time. All right. If you guys are watching on TikTok, by the way, I'm about to restart the live. So if you check back here in like 5 minutes, it'll be going. If you're on YouTube, we're still going strong, so don't worry. But if you're on TikTok, if you don't want interruptions in your coverage, just head over to @TuckerWeather on YouTube. Or check back on TikTok in like 5 minutes. I'm going to restart the live here, but I'll be right back on this one. Right back. All right. So let's see. We continue to track these storms as they move through the western and getting into the central part of Wisconsin. Still not seeing anything crazy severe. Let's see. Tell me where Garnavio, Iowa is, because I don't know some of these smaller places. But still not seeing anything crazy, like I said, across portions of Wisconsin, other than that one area where we've been watching this tornado warning. Still tornado warned storm as it moves into Greenwood. The National Weather Service has actually confirmed this recently. So let's get an idea of what they're seeing here. So there was a second area of debris in that area that we were watching earlier. This was south of Augusta. Between Augusta and Fairchild is where we did have this second area of debris picked up on radar. You see again that blue bullseye right there, right to the east of Augusta. That was debris picked up by this tornado. Looks like the tornado has since weakened, but that is now 2 confirmed tornadoes that we have had in the area. So certainly a busy day in that part of the state. This storm, I would not be surprised if they extend this warning just because it has a history of producing tornadoes now. And it still has that look, although, it still has that look. Even though it may not be as strong at this moment, it still has that look. The other thing to note, too, is that With these storms that we're seeing to the east of Eau Claire, these storms are really far away from the radar. So when we're picking up debris, we're seeing it really high in the storm, and that suggests that you may have a possibly strong tornado because it takes a lot to loft debris that high up, and our radar is detecting that from pretty far away. So that's an important thing to note here. Yeah, welcome in TikTok people to YouTube. If you guys are just coming over here from TikTok, be sure to subscribe too, by the way. And really anyone here, to be honest, I really would love to do a lot more weather stuff here on YouTube. And I really would love to build a community. I honestly just want to make myself really accessible to you guys and, do some fun stuff. Maybe make some videos that, if you guys have weather questions, maybe do some teaching videos. So yeah, be sure to subscribe and hang out here. And of course, I'll be covering severe weather here whenever there's something going on. But I also do very regular weather updates here on YouTube. So be sure to check those out. I'm always open to feedback. If there's stuff you guys like or want to see more of or don't like, just give me a shout. You can consider me your own personal meteorologist, which is a pretty good deal, to be honest. Especially if the channel ever ends up getting bigger because, you guys can say you were OGs. Still watching the storm, though. They did just extend this tornado warning as I sort of expected here. So certainly if you're in Greenwood, Longwood, Owen, if you're in Loyal, out towards Spencer, Abbotsford, or Colby, each of these areas are under this tornado warning. Spencer may not be, but you should be heading down to your safe place right now. This tornado warning extended through the rest of Clark County, Wisconsin now. So it is now extended through the rest of Clark County, Wisconsin, as we continue to track this dangerous storm. And I continue to see, so it looks like we may have a new area of rotation right here. You kind of see that hook. You kind of see it coming out like that. That is likely where we'd have another tornado right now. And if I switch to our velocity, this is likely where the tornado would be, right here. Let's see. Yeah. So will that red spot hit the Wausau area? That's a good question. I'm restarting this TikTok live too now. So will that red spot hit the Wausau area? That is a good question. So if we zoom out a little bit, just get Wausau on the map. Wausau, of course, is on the eastern side, the right side of your screen here. So Wausau right here, our supercell, as we call it. Calling it a supercell, it just means the storm is rotating. It has been moving in this direction. So yes, Wausau is likely to be in the line of this supercell. Marshfield is very close as well. I do feel as though that this storm is going to end up passing to the to the north of Marshfield. So if you're in Marshfield, you do need to be on alert out there. But it does look like this dangerous storm is going to pass just barely to the north of Marshfield. If you're in Wausau, on the other hand, it is moving in that direction. So you, especially in Wausau, I'm telling you now, you don't need to go down to the basement yet, but you do need to be on alert if you're in Wausau. So please be watching out there. Is Mondovi in the clear for tonight? Good question. Yes, Mondovi, you are now in the clear. You're all good out there. Neilsville, the storms are not over yet. Neilsville also on the south end of this here. So if you're in Neilsville, I don't believe you're going to see that strong portion of this line hit you, but you are going to be hit by some heavy rain, some strong winds, stuff like that. Madison, Wisconsin, I'm also keeping an eye on the threat for some severe weather out in Madison. The greatest risk is going to be later on tonight. You can see Madison all the way out here. Our line of storms still very far to the west and working their way in the direction of Madison. So you got a few hours out there. Just zooming out, by the way. Still just some severe storms here in Kansas. No tornadoes. Quite a bit of lightning. You can see those flashes showing up. And we still have some severe storms and a flash flood warning in Oklahoma now too. But no tornadoes out there at the moment. Doesn't look like a big tornado threat in Oklahoma. And if you're in Iowa, still watching some storms out here, but once again, really no tornado threat, as these storms are having a hard time tapping into all the spin in the atmosphere. And that's why we have such a big risk today, guys, is there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere. But storms, they don't always tap into all that spin. So we can say there's a high ceiling, a high chance for severe weather. Doesn't always mean that it's going to produce, though. Good question. So Winona, so I'm curious, if you're in Winona right now, we got something really interesting going on. So Winona's right here. I'll circle it. You got your rain coming in. It's still moving into Winona, but notice this thin gray line here. You know what's interesting? We call that a gust front. And essentially, this storm is dropping rain and wind, and it's spreading out, and it's pushing things like dust and dirt and bugs, interestingly, out ahead of it. That's the leading edge of some of the strong wind. So if you're in Winona, you probably got a pretty strong wind gust already. And this thin gray line is quite literally the radar picking up those things like dust and dirt and bugs. Sounds a little gross, but actually, if you were standing outside and you felt that, here's how I know sometimes, when a gust front comes through, because it's picking everything up and pushing it ahead of the storm. It's kind of like whenever you have, if you've ever seen a flood, there's a lot of debris on the front end. It just kind of creates a wall of debris and a mess and pushes it forward. A lot of times, this time of year, if I'm standing in the way of a storm and I get hit by the gust front, my allergies go nuts because it's like a wall of pollen. It just picks up all this pollen, keeps on accumulating, and pushes it forward. Basically, in Winona, you just had that gust front come through, so that's what happened where you are. But the rain and still some more of the wind on its way in right now, that's cutting in along with the line, and it will be there in the next 10 minutes. It's going more of a northeast direction. It looks like it's more so propagating right now. This might not even be surface-based, and if that is the case, that's good news in terms of tornadoes. Actually, so in fact, because we're seeing this gust front here, that tells me that these storms are unlikely to be surface-based right here, which significantly lowers the tornado threat. So the good news is that in this segment of the line, I'm looking at more of a damaging wind and possibly hail threat. But honestly, the severe weather risk as a whole has decreased here a lot. And let me just kind of talk through my thought process here. Because we have a gust front, these storms are becoming outflow dominant. And what that means is that the rain, as it falls, it's cooling down the air. And if you're in Winona as well, it probably just got a lot colder. Tornadoes have a hard time forming when the air is cold. And the rain is cooling the air off so much that tornadoes will have a difficult time forming. On top of that, that cold air actually creates some stability close to the ground, which makes damaging wind less likely too. Large hail can still very much occur. However, large hail does not seem likely in this case because our storms are congealing into a line. Those updrafts, they're being, the friction is increasing. They're not able to be as strong because there's a lot more kind of slowing them down on their way up. So that lowers the entire severe weather threat. So we may end up seeing a best case scenario here if you're in the La Crosse area, if you're near Black River Falls, where in my meteorological opinion, I'm not seeing much in the way to justify any severe weather. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the severe weather threat ends up staying very low for the rest of tonight in this area, at least for now. That could increase again as it gets into the central part of the state, but at least for now. Let me show you the other interesting thing. Now, we do have let me actually slide this way. I'm going to pause this again. You can see, once again, you see that outflow boundary, as we call it? You see that thin gray line? There it is. Now, why is this storm tornado warned and severe? Well, as you can see, it's out ahead of that outflow. So while this area may be rain-cooled and less likely to be severe, this storm here, it's out ahead of it. It's still absorbing that warm air off the surface. It's not absorbing the cold air from its own rainfall. So this is out ahead of that line, and that's why it's severe. That's why it's tornado warned, and that's why we still have the potential for a tornado, at least over the next half hour, as this storm continues to move through Clark County. And we already have 2 confirmed tornadoes from this storm, 2 of them. They do not look like they've hit anything very populated, but it is a dangerous storm, and if there is a tornado right now, it would be just south of the Greenwood, Wisconsin area and continuing to move to the north and east as it tracks through Clark County. So that is something that we need to be paying close attention to still. However, south of that, the severe weather threat appears to be comparatively lower. What I will say too, though, is that our outflow boundary, it seems to kind of come to an end here. So these storms in Iowa are likely still surface-based, and that means we still have a tornado threat in northern Iowa for sure. And that may end up brushing the far south portions of Wisconsin too. But these storms here likely still surface-based and will pose a tornado threat in Iowa. Not seeing any other tornado warnings right now. It's really just this activity that we're seeing in Wisconsin. And there is one severe storm here in northern Minnesota, or, well, we'll call it near Duluth, Minnesota. I wouldn't call it northern Minnesota. Let me just get an idea of velocity. Not seeing too much rotation here. There is a little bit, so it's something that we'll watch. But this storm continuing to move across Minnesota right now. Does not look like we're really seeing anything else out there, though, in terms of severe weather. Just that one severe storm warned for some damaging wind and large hail. Like I said, though, Clark County. So moving into central Wisconsin, we do have this tornado warning. If you're in the Wausau area, this could end up producing severe weather where you are soon, in about the next half hour or so. Yeah, sure. Viroqua, you're in a spot. I believe you're in a good spot right now. Viroqua looks like the worst of this is going to end up staying sub-severe. Still looks like some wind, some rain out there for sure. A lot of rain in Viroqua. And that will get there in about an hour, but the severe weather threat appears on the lower end out there. Trying to get some of your questions here. Let's see. Oklahoma, there are only some storms in the far south and western part of the state right now. Let's see. Trying to get some more of your questions here. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if anything, it's better to oversell it than undersell it, but still, either way. To be honest, I was never super convinced with this threat. It just seemed like there was a lot of failure modes, and so there were a lot of things that could go wrong, basically, and we're seeing that happen here, which is good. Guys, all things considered, this could have been a lot worse today, and it's not over yet, but it is still performing less than expected originally. I don't know where Burlington, Wisconsin is, so let me take a look on my map here for you and respond. Burlington, Wisconsin. I was just in Burlington, Massachusetts today. Oops, I started searching that. All right. So Burlington, yeah, right now it's hard to say because it's going to take some time for the storms to get out to Burlington, Wisconsin. I don't expect we're going to see a significant threat in Burlington. But just make sure you're aware tonight. If you're going to sleep, you should be prepared for a potential severe weather risk out of an abundance of caution at the least. So Burlington, while you do look like you're in an okay place, you should be at least alert and aware. Make sure emergency alerts are turned on your phone if there is a warning, so you know where to you know if you need to go downstairs. Hopefully that you can be made aware by that. Rachel popping back in here. Let's see. And looking at Marshfield too. So if you guys are just tuning in, by the way, I'm saying that, across a good chunk of this line, we are seeing, at least my forecast would be, really not so much severe weather here. If you're in La Crosse, this has really trended very favorably. La Crosse, that threat for severe weather has decreased a lot. However, the threat for severe weather, if you're near Wausau, has increased a lot as we're looking at a supercell moving that direction. Marshfield also. I've had a lot of questions about Marshfield. From what I'm seeing, Marshfield's severe weather threat is it's going to be a close one. I do expect that if you're on the south side of Marshfield, that severe weather threat remains pretty low. But we are seeing this storm begin to extend a bit farther south here, and it's this brighter red spot here. That's a supercell. It's had a history of producing tornadoes. It's continuing to move to the east-northeast. The southern tip of this may just brush Marshfield, and it is likely to hit Wausau, Wisconsin. So we certainly have areas that will be impacted by this storm and possibly a tornado, as I could see this storm continuing to produce a tornado threat at least for a few more hours if it can manage to stay surface-based. Right now, I'm not seeing as much rotation, though. Very little rotation, which is a good sign that hopefully it's weakening. But we do need to watch, especially the south end here, kind of in the Loyal, Wisconsin area. You are under that tornado warning out there, too, so you got to be in your safe place. Same for you guys in Spencer. This is something that we are closely watching right now. Let's see. Yeah, north of Dubuque looks okay right now. Let's see what else we got going on here. So if you guys are just tuning in, by the way, and for those of you guys who've been here, you hear me say this a few times, but people are always popping in and out, so I gotta say it once in a while. But if you guys are just tuning in, welcome to our live. We're covering severe weather right now in the upper Midwest, especially Wisconsin, where we currently have a tornado-warned storm. I'm a meteorologist, by the way. My name is Tucker. I got my degree in meteorology from Penn State. I work on TV as a meteorologist in Boston. I used to work on Channel 13 News in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, by the way. So if any of my Wisconsin friends are out there watching, you may remember me from my days in Eau Claire between 2019 and 2021. But regardless, I just want to let you know who I am, my expertise, because on the internet, it's hard to know who to trust, but I'm someone, I promise you're always going to get good weather information from, information you can trust. For that reason, consider following here on TikTok. Consider subscribing if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on TikTok, consider heading over to YouTube. It's at Tucker Weather. You get a lot of good weather information there. I'm live there right now too. And if you have any weather questions, guys, that I don't get to, you can always find me at Tucker Weather on Instagram as well. And just following, I appreciate your support and things like that. And I hope that I can be of help to you guys here too, because that's sort of the ultimate goal, is just to make sure you guys are able to stay weather aware, stay safe too. Looks like we just got a tornado warning in Oklahoma too, by the way. Yes, Rachel, by the way, I did buy these programs. Radars are pretty cheap, though. You can find apps. Just search radar, and you can find radar apps that you can really learn a lot just from trial and error. Good call. From the YouTube chat, we have a new tornado warning. Good call out there in Oklahoma. This is just south of Altus. Here's a great example, guys, of what to look for a tornado on radar. Luckily, this appears to be just south of town. But here's your storm. You see those darker red colors out here? Oh, our radar just updated, but still a good example. You see these darker red colors and orange colors out here? That is your storm right there, but we also have this hook. You see that hook right there? That is a very clear hook, guys. Huge hook coming off the storm. This, if you were storm chasing, would probably be extremely picturesque. But we can tell from this hook right here, there is rotation in the storm, and a tornado would be right there in that area I'm circling. So here we're looking at reflectivity. If we look at our velocity, there's actually not a super strong sign of rotation, but again, our tornado would be right there. And this certainly would be very, very clear and visible if there are any storm chasers on this. I'm not seeing debris, but that very, very clear hook. This storm is seemingly moving south of Altus, Oklahoma, in the direction of Hedrick. It's our first tornado warning I've seen so far in Oklahoma. We'll continue to watch these storms as they may produce more tornadoes later on. We did just get a severe storm warning in Iowa too, which concerns me a bit because that means these storms are maturing. So I do want to watch this storm out here in Iowa. Do we have any people in Iowa watching? Just drop me an IA in the chat if you're in Iowa. This storm near Atlantic, Iowa, is severe now. I am going to take a look at our, it looks like there is some rotation in the storm, as we can see some of those brighter blue and green colors side by side. This is in an environment where there is a lot of spin though. So this storm in Iowa here, moving in the direction of Des Moines. And if it reaches Des Moines, we may be looking at a severe weather threat. We may be looking at a tornado threat as the storm continues to move east in the direction of Des Moines. So we need to watch these two storms in Iowa very closely. These may be the most concerning from a tornado standpoint that we currently have of storms that are not tornado warned. So we got to watch those storms. If you're in central Iowa, we are going to be watching those closely for you, as that is a threat that will be ongoing for a little while here. Going back to our radar out in Wisconsin now. Actually, it will not let me switch to that radar, so let's do that. There we go. Still looking at a tornado warned storm. It does look as though they're dropping the tornado warning on this. There is not as much rotation in this storm right now, which is why they would let the warning go. But we are still looking at a strong storm. likely producing damaging wind and hail, and a tornado is still possible. Marshfield is included in this severe storm warning. It's going to be very, very close. Marshfield being on the sort of on the south side of this. Marshfield right here. Our storm extending farther south. At this rate, it would be passing, I mean, Marshfield's right in the very edge of this. It'd be passing very close to Marshfield. If there is a tornado, it would likely be near Marshfield, but I don't see any sign of a tornado right now. Wausau, though, likely to be impacted by this severe storm, though. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Tell me where the Fox cities are near. And Medford as well. I'll get a look at... Tell me what Medford is near as well. I'll get to those for you guys, too. Those storms near St. Joseph, Kansas, not as impressive as I can tell just from the warning boxes. Really just flood risks out here near St. Joseph now, out by, out in Kansas. Once again, you can see these storms are outflow dominant. And when they become outflow dominant like that, that tornado threat really decreases a lot. You can see those outflow boundaries. See those thin gray lines extending outward from the storms. Again, that's how you know they are outflow dominant, and the tornado risk is considerably lower when that happens. Keeping an eye on tornado warning storm here still. Yeah, I assume we're talking Medford, Wisconsin. By the way, let me just look that up for you so I can get you an answer. All right. Oh, I see. So Medford. I see ya. Medford, Wisconsin. Oh, you're on my map. You're literally on my map. The severe weather threat in Medford is very, very low. You are getting heavy rain. You are going to get some strong wind. But the good news with Medford is that these storms are going to be mainly to the worst of it's going to be to the south of you. So Medford doing okay. All right, let's see. Let's see. Madison, Wisconsin right now. I am less concerned about the severe weather threat in Madison than I was earlier. These storms will reach Madison, but not until we get later at night here. So in Madison, just make sure your emergency alerts are turned on. They may not get in there until closer to midnight as it stands now. It could even be closer to 1 a.m. If you're in Minneapolis, you're in the clear now, luckily. Oh, I see. Fox Cities. Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for that. So if you're near, I actually did not know they were called that. I lived in Wisconsin for 2 years. Sarah, that is really, really awesome. You helped me a lot on that one. So if you're out here, Appleton, Oshkosh, Green Bay, roughly that area, Neenah as well, really if you're anywhere in this part of the state, we're looking at some storms that are in the area right now. They are not severe. I don't expect them to become severe right now, but we're going to watch trends in case they do. I actually don't believe the severe weather threat is that high for the Fox cities out there. The biggest concern I have is really more so the central part of the state by Wausau, where we still have this one supercell moving through. This line of storms to the south of it, extending into like Austin, Minnesota, this will impact places like La Crosse, much of the south central part of the state. Those do not look like they're going to be severe. So that's good news there. But we do have our one severe storm moving into central Wisconsin right now, approaching Wausau, for example. That we do need to be watching here. And in fact, they just extended the tornado warning. So here's an urgent update for you guys. Tornado warning extended. And this tornado warning is going to be including places like Marshfield. Wausau's not in this yet. Marshfield, McMillan, Spencer, Marathon City. Marshfield, you should be heading down to your safe place now. The storm is just a little too close for comfort, so head down to the basement. You want to go to an interior room, the lowest floor of your house. Wausau as well, you're not in this tornado warning, but you should be preparing right now to go down to your safe place. So like I said, we have a new tornado warning in effect. Marshfield is included. Wausau is not yet, but Marshfield, you are in this warning. Even if the storm ends up going just to the north of you, it is something that we need to be watching, as it is a little too close for comfort. We at least have an area of strong wind right here. As you can tell, this is just north of Loyal. That does not appear to be where a tornado would be, but if we do get a tornado, it is likely to be either here or here. These would be the places where a tornado would occur, either just north or just south of Loyal, and will be moving to the east. So Marshfield, Spencer, McMillan, Marathon City, Athens, these are all places in the warning. If you're closer to Wausau, you have a little bit of time to watch this one, but you should be preparing to head to your safe place right now, too, as this storm continues to move to the east. We are talking about severe weather in Wisconsin. If you guys are just tuning in, by the way, we are covering severe weather extending all the way from Minnesota as far south as Texas. The worst of our severe weather right now occurring in Wisconsin. That is where we have the majority of severe weather right now. That's where we have our tornado warnings in effect. So if you're just jumping on, we were talking about storms in Wisconsin. Dodgeville, Wisconsin, you'll need to tell me closer to what city that's in. Green Bay, I'm looking at a severe weather threat in about the next 2 or 3 hours. By the way, if you guys are just jumping on YouTube or on TikTok, I'm a meteorologist. You're going to get good weather information here. I have experience covering tornado outbreaks on TV, online, everywhere. So consider following because you got good expertise. If you're watching on TikTok, I'm doing my best to get to all of your questions, but there's a lot of you asking questions on TikTok. So consider moving over to YouTube. My YouTube channel is at Tucker Weather. If you ask your questions on YouTube, I am much more likely to see them there. Also consider subscribing on YouTube. I'm trying to build that community up more, so check that out if you're watching on TikTok. And if you're already watching on YouTube, happy to have you here, guys. All right, so let's see. Madison, seeing a lot of questions about Madison. If we take a look at Madison on the southern part of the state, these storms aren't going to get there till closer to, perhaps as late as midnight. So you got a lot of time, perhaps even 1 a.m. in Madison. And the line of storms moving in the direction of Madison is of less concern right now. So while you should be prepared for severe weather in Madison, that severe weather threat in Madison, I believe, is not actually as high as we were concerned about earlier. So be on alert. Make sure you have emergency alerts turned on your phone. But in Madison, that severe weather threat is not as high as it could be. All right, bunch of you guys jumping on the YouTube now. Again, that's at Tucker Weather. I'm doing my best to get to your questions here. Let's see. Stevens Point. That's a good question. Stevens Point, you're likely to be hit by some storms, but I actually do not expect severe weather in Stevens Point. Those storms will get there in about 45 minutes, but I do not expect them to be severe out there. Milwaukee, that threat is going to be increasing as we get later into tonight. I mean, that's going to be an overnight threat in Milwaukee. Turn on emergency alerts. Make sure your phone's near you. It'll make noise if there's a tornado warning. But I don't expect Milwaukee is under the highest threat right now, luckily. Let's see. Sirens going off in Stratford. That makes sense. So Stratford, Wisconsin, you are in that tornado warning. If you're in Stratford, you really need to be in the basement right now, or at least an interior room in the lowest floor of your house. That is where we have a tornado warning ongoing right now. This would eventually reach Wausau if it does get extended. Neillsville, you're in the clear from severe weather, but you are going to get some storms. Let's see. Hailing in Oshkosh right now, that would make sense. There may be some small hail out there. If you guys get any good pictures, you can send them to me on Instagram at Tucker Weather as well. If you have any questions I haven't got to in the live, you can also find me on Instagram at Tucker Weather. I'd be happy to chat with you and answer your questions there too. Rochester, Minnesota, you are in the clear out there. Chile, Wisconsin. I can tell you if it's close to Marshfield, let me zoom in on Marshfield. Marshfield's in a spot where, I see Chile. Chile, you're actually okay in Chile, but in Marshfield, you're a little too close for comfort because this storm has the potential to produce a tornado. Marshfield, you'd likely be on the very southern end of it. If I switch over to our debris tracker, I'm luckily not seeing any debris in here. If I switch over to our wind velocity, I'm not seeing a ton of rotation either, but we are not very close to any radar sites. So it would be hard to detect a tornado here because the radar is not very close to this storm. Mason City, Iowa, I will give you a quick update for those of you guys who are in Iowa. I'm tracking a couple severe storms. Mason City, you may be impacted by a severe storm very shortly here. You can see this storm activity just to the west, and as that continues to move to the east, Mason City is in a position where severe weather is possible, and that threat for severe weather would largely be damaging wind and large hail. About the next half hour, you got to be ready for that in Mason City. We do have another tornado warning. It is in Oklahoma right now. Just a quick update on this one. This is just south of Altus, Oklahoma. You can see our storm out here, and we actually have a really gigantic hook extending out this way. That hook is where we would have a tornado ongoing, although the rotation, not the most impressive that I've seen. You're looking at a debris tracker here. That not looking the most impressive either right now, which is good news for us. Good news. But still a tornado warning ongoing south of Altus, Oklahoma. And we did just get a tornado warning in Des Moines. Sorry, not in Des Moines, in central Iowa. Remember this storm I was talking about near Atlantic, Iowa? About 5 minutes ago, I said this storm we need to watch out for a potential tornado. Actually, it was about 10 minutes ago. I said this storm near Atlantic we need to watch out for a potential tornado. Here we are. We just got the tornado warning. Just came in now from the National Weather Service. This is going to eventually present a potential threat for the Des Moines area. It's right near Wyoda and Anita, Iowa. You can see the hook on this storm pretty clearly at the end here. This is where a tornado would be if one is being produced. If we can zoom in even further here, you can see closely where that hook is. If we switch to our velocity, this is some rotation in the storm right here. And this is going to be a threat likely for some time to come because this storm is in an area where there is a lot of spin. And like I said, the storm even to the north of it here, closer to Guthrie Center, each of these storms, I believe there was a tornado near Guthrie Center last year, each of these storms are moving in the direction of Des Moines and Ames. And while they're not near Des Moines or Ames right now, you should be prepared in case those tornado-warned storms get into those areas. Something very important to be watching here over the next hour or two in central Iowa. We'll continue to keep an eye on that one for you guys. Jumping back into our storm here in Wisconsin. If you guys have been watching this one with me, you know we've been tracking this as it has has produced 2 confirmed tornadoes so far. So this is a dangerous storm we're looking at in central Indiana. What I will say is that I do not see as much rotation. What I am seeing though is a lot of wind. And if we open up our inspector here, radar is picking up on wind speeds as high as 80 miles per hour. Now, this is higher up in the storm, but certainly it tells us this storm has the potential to produce some damaging wind, even if it doesn't produce a tornado. And damaging wind can be just as bad as a tornado. In fact, as with some of these weak tornadoes, they only have winds up to 60 to 80 miles per hour. Damaging wind gusts from storms can be easily that high. So even if you're not going to be hit by a tornado, there is a decent possibility for some damage in this storm as it continues to move in the direction of McMillan, Marathon City, impacting Spencer right now, Abbotsford being impacted too. Marshfield, I believe this is just going to graze you. So this southern end of the storm may just be grazing Marshfield right here. And if there is a tornado, there is a chance it would be in Marshfield, but the worst of the wind is going to stay to the north of Marshfield. If you're just tuning in, we are looking at severe weather in the state of Wisconsin right now, but we're also tracking severe weather in states like Kansas and Oklahoma and Iowa at this moment too. This would be, yes, this actually does look like, Rachel, good observation. This does look like more of a microburst threat. We'll also take a look at our Kansas storms just to give you guys an update out there. Kansas storms becoming more of a flooding threat and hail threat. The damaging wind and tornado threat decreasing a bit as these storms become outflow dominant, as we say. And you can actually see the outflow. That's your rain-cooled air on radar here. It is these areas right here. You can see those thin lines. That tells us that the rain is cooling the air and it's creating some stable air near the ground, which reduces the damaging wind and tornado threat. Still a hail and flooding threat, though, in northeastern Kansas. Like I said, we do have a tornado warning out here in Iowa as well. It is moving into central Iowa at this moment. So that's a lot of information. Stratford, you need to be in your safe place. I'll tell you, in Stratford, looks like more of a wind threat than tornado threat right now, but you should be in the lowest floor of your house, a basement if you have one. Wisconsin Rapids. So if you're in Wisconsin Rapids, let's take a look at that area. By the way, if you guys are on TikTok and I'm not seeing your questions, you can find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube as well. I'll see your questions there a little bit easier. But of course, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're watching, as again, I'm a meteorologist. You're going to get good weather information here with me. I'm going to continue to keep you updated tonight. Yeah, Stratford, you are in the severe weather risk right now, but like I said, Stratford is looking like more of a damaging wind threat at this moment. Wisconsin Rapids, I'm actually less concerned. I don't expect you're going to see severe weather in Wisconsin Rapids. You can see that area I just circled there. Our storm to the west of us, it's outflow dominant. Again, that rain cool air is creating basically a stable layer, and I don't expect you're going to see severe weather. There will be some wind and rain, but I don't expect it's going to be anything crazy or severe. So good news out there. Again, Wisconsin Rapids right here, our storm blowing out right out there to the west. Rhinelander, there is going to be some storm activity where you are, but I don't believe you're going to see much severe weather in Rhinelander, just some regular storms where you are. Continuing to watch this one, though, as it moves in the direction of McMillan and Marshfield and Mann and Stratford, Wisconsin. Still not seeing a ton of rotation on radar, but we are pretty far from the radar site, so we do need to continue to watch this. If there was a tornado, it would most likely be just to the north of Marshfield, Wisconsin. So we continue to watch this one very closely with the potential of a tornado in this area here. Likely some damaging wind in the middle, and that is going to continue to move to the into the central portions of Wisconsin. That tornado threat, though, seemingly lower right now, but something to watch and that we will be watching very closely. If you were in Illinois, this storm threat's going to be greatest more so early tomorrow morning. A lot of time to watch. It's not the biggest threat in Illinois, but it's something to make note of. If you're in Illinois, though, if it makes you feel better, I would be sleeping perhaps the lowest floor of your house. Just sleep there. That's where you're probably going to be best off here. No tornado warning in Rhinelander right now, by the way. I did just look for you. Let's see. What else we have here? Unless I'm missing something, I do not see any warnings in Rhinelander at this time. I know some people mentioning that, but I do not see any warnings in Rhinelander right now. I'm not seeing much in the way of severe potential either. I'll be continuing to watch Rhinelander, but right now, the place that we're watching where there is a tornado warning is closer to Wausau. Rhinelander a little farther north at this moment. If you're in Waukesha or really anywhere in if you're anywhere in eastern Wisconsin, you should make sure you have a plan for, if there's a severe storm, if there's a tornado warning, you should make sure you have a plan. Part of that plan should be making sure emergency alerts are turned on your phone. So if you're in eastern Wisconsin and there is a tornado warning, make sure emergency alerts are turned on your phone because if there's a warning, that phone, emergency alerts, will wake you up. And you want to make sure you're near a safe place where you can go quickly. So if you want to be safe, sleep on the lowest floor of your house. Make sure those emergency alerts are turned on. Otherwise, you can sleep in your bed. If it's on the second floor, just especially make sure emergency alerts are turned on. And make sure that, if you wake up to alarms, you'll be okay. If you don't wake up to alarms easily, then I would definitely be just sleeping on the lowest floor of your house just to be safe. Let's see. Let me get to some of your questions out here. Milwaukee, you're included in that as well. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, you guys are in the clear out there. Appleton, this is going to be a late night threat for you. Really late at night tonight. So you got some time to wait on this one. Still waiting for some radar updates here. Going to jump back to our tornado warned storm in Iowa. As we take a look at this, you can see, honestly, not as much rotation here, but certainly that is a supercell. Very big flying V. Actually, what happens here is your updraft, more or less, as it goes up, the upper level winds hit it kind of like a rock in a stream, and they get pushed around it, and so you end up getting that flying V-like shape as your updraft basically forces the wind out and around your severe storm here. So that is something that we are continuing to watch. As this storm, it basically tells us there's a strong updraft. And this storm does have the potential to remain strong for quite some time to come here. So just wanted to note that. Still waiting on some more information from our storm here in Wisconsin. because it's far from the radar, it's hard to determine if there is a tornado being produced, but there is a tornado warning, and we certainly have strong winds here as well. St. Paul, Minnesota, you're in the clear out there. Good news, you're in the clear out there. Those of you guys who are watching on TikTok, by the way, you can find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube as well. There's a lot of you guys asking questions in TikTok. There's a lot less of you asking questions in YouTube right now. So at Tucker Weather on YouTube, I'm streaming there right now as well. So be sure to head over there if you have a question I'm not seeing. Let's see. Watoma. Tell me what Watoma is near. Give me a city that Watoma is near, and I'll be able to give you a clearer answer there. We can go back to Mason City here. Mason City, we do have a severe storm warning just to the west of Mason City. Likely a hail and wind threat for Mason City in the next couple of hours here. Neenah, Wisconsin, this threat's going to be late at night. I do feel as though the severe weather threat is actually on the low side in Neenah. Doesn't mean let your guard down, but the severe weather threat is on the lower side out there. All right, let's see what else we have here. As I get quiet, I'm just looking for some reports. What are you guys seeing out there, by the way? And also drop a WI in the chat, or drop the initials of whatever state you're in. That would be helpful so I can see where everyone's watching from here. Let's see. Grant County, still going to be watching for a potential severe weather threat in Grant County, but that severe weather threat is a bit lower out there. All right, a lot of Wisconsin folks. Got a little Illinois out here too. All right, that's helpful, guys. Thanks for doing that. Got some Minnesota also. Let's see. All right, mainly Wisconsin. Got some Minnesota. If you guys are in Minnesota right now, this is pretty much done with you unless you're in far southeastern Minnesota. You still have some storms to get through, but honestly, Minnesota, you are basically in the clear here. So good news for you guys in Minnesota. Very good news for you guys in Minnesota. Stevens Point, that severe weather threat is low in Stevens Point right now. La Crosse, that severe weather threat is also low out there in La Crosse. What I'm expecting in La Crosse is you're going to get storms. You're going to get a gust of wind, but it's not going to be severe. So you're going to make it through all right out there. Yeah, if you're in Holman, you should be hearing some thunder. Same deal as La Crosse, though. Des Moines, I'm watching very closely because we have that supercell I was talking about. And again, that beautiful flying V shape here. There's your updraft. The upper level winds are being basically circumvented around the updraft and more or less producing that very unique shape you see there. But Des Moines, mainly north of Des Moines, up towards Ames, we have a severe weather threat that is going to be very, very crucial to watch because both of these storms, even though one of them is not even severe warned, both of these storms certainly have the potential to produce tornadoes, just given the volatile environment they are in. Is that storm heading to Marshalltown? I don't know exactly where Marshalltown is, but if you live north of Des Moines, you should be watching. If you're south of Des Moines, you should be okay. Again, La Crosse, Wisconsin, I'm not expecting the biggest tornado threat. Actually, La Crosse, Wisconsin, unlikely to be a very big severe threat. We just got an update on our tornado warned storm in central Wisconsin. This looks to me, it's really hard to say if we have a tornado ongoing because our storm is so far away from the radar. So you should be preparing as if there is going to be a tornado. There is at least going to be damaging wind. Spencer, McMillan especially, at least damaging wind in this storm near Marshfield, Wisconsin. Especially near McMillan, Wisconsin right now. That is where we have the greatest severe weather threat at this moment. Damaging wind for sure. A potential tornado out that direction too. Bloomer, you are in the clear out there. Crete, Illinois. I would say your severe weather threat is going to increase in the early morning tomorrow. You're okay right now. I say Minnesota with a Minnesotan accent. Is that true? Do I say Minnesota with a Minnesotan accent? That's because I lived out, like I said, if you guys are just jumping on too, and those of you guys who are from Eau Claire, you know this, but I lived in Eau Claire for 2 years, and I swear I started saying a little more things like you guys do out there. I freaking love the accents up there in the upper Midwest. I love the accents. I really do. I really do. I'm just trying. I remember when I first moved out there. Nah, you know what? You know what it was. So when I first moved out to, quick story time. When I first moved out to Wisconsin, I did not know what cheese curds were, among all things, and people were like, "What?" That was a quick learning curve for me. I didn't know what Menards was. Learned that too, but also it was pretty crazy that what was it? Yeah, words like roof and crick. Like, I didn't know people said it like that. I used to say Chippewa. Now I just say Chippewa because I'm used to people saying that. But yeah, cheese curds are amazing. My first cheese curd I got was at Milwaukee. It was at NBC. What is it? Beer company. So it was kind of like one of their big ones. But then I had like Culver's and I had some like fair curds. I love Culver's curds though. Culver's cheese curds are just awesome. But yeah, I think people made fun of me when I moved out there and didn't know what cheese curds were. Let's see. Yeah, Adam knows what I'm talking about. I'm not even a big cheese guy. I actually do love cheese curds though. I think they're great. Yeah, Milwaukee Burger Company. I couldn't. That's right. NBC. Yeah, that's where I had the first cheese curds. I'm going to get back to talking about cheese curds here in a second, but we do need to talk about severe weather. Just got a radar update here. If you're in McMillan, Wisconsin, you really need to be in your safe place. Stratford as well, as we have at least a damaging wind threat. I'm a little concerned by the hook I'm seeing on this storm. Good news, though, is that if you are in Marshfield, this storm is passing just north of you. So in Marshfield, you are actually going to be okay. McMillan and Stratford, Wisconsin, we do need to be careful. There may be a tornado ongoing out there. At least there is some damaging wind. So please be safe if you are in that direction. Still looking at that tornado threat here in Iowa. It looks as though this tornado warning will be dropped, but still going to be an ongoing threat for tornadoes. And we do have that tornado warning still ongoing in Oklahoma right now. And this one is staying in the far southwestern portion of the state, moving in the direction of Snyder. This actually could be a pretty big one. You can kind of see the large hook here. If I switch over to our velocity, a couple areas where there may be some rotation. We got two spots where there may be some rotation in there. So that's interesting. We may have a mesocyclone, a tornado cycling, basically. That is very intriguing to me. We could have two areas of rotation in this storm, and that, it's not impossible for a storm to produce two tornadoes at once. So just something to make note of there. But it's not a very populated area, so we'll be watching that. Also, Kansas right now, I'm looking at still mainly a wind and hail threat and flooding risk, especially. That is extending from places like Junction City out towards Leavenworth. Kansas City, you may get some heavy rain, some severe storms later, but that threat, relatively speaking, is not quite as high as some of the other areas that we have been covering. Going back to our Wisconsin storm, we'll talk a little more cheese curds here and things I learned in Wisconsin. I didn't know that was a thing, by the way. Yeah, I agree, Anthony, on the cheese curds. I didn't know OP was a thing until I moved out there. Like, just gonna sneak on past ya. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was amazing. But I did not know what OP was until I moved out there. I made a TikTok video on this a long time ago. I'd never eaten Culver's. I didn't know what cheese curds were. I didn't know what Menards was. Yeah, OP was a funny one. OP. Coob. Anyone know what Coob is? I think that's like, I've never heard of that anywhere except for when I was in Wisconsin. Gosh. Yeah, I loved it out there. Spotted cow. Did not know what spotted cow was until I went out there. Haven't had spotted cow in a long time. All right, let's get some of your questions now. Shano, east of Wausau. We are going to be watching for actually, to be honest, Wausau, that severe weather threat. Yeah, Quick Trip was a new one too. I didn't know what Quick Trip was either, with a K at least. There's also QT, Quick Trip. Yeah, so if you're in Wausau right here, actually, it does appear the severe weather threat is decreasing for you. If you're south of Wausau, though, so I'm looking at like Cronenwetter, Mosinee, Knowlton, that severe weather threat remains on the higher side in the short term in those areas as this storm moves into the area. If you are east of Wausau, you should be okay the way it looks to me right now. Stratford McMillan's still a pretty dangerous storm out there, though. Stevens Point, I'm not too worried about, you guys. There's going to be a storm. It should not be severe. Same thing in La Crosse. Here we are, La Crosse. You can see that outflow getting closer to La Crosse right here. Your storms behind it right here, those red and orange colors. Not expecting severe weather, but there will be a gust of wind with that outflow coming in. That's your rain cooled air as it moves into the La Crosse area and beyond. But I'm not expecting severe weather, just some wind and rain if you were in La Crosse. Not as bad as we had feared earlier in the day, luckily. Madison as well. I'm not super convinced that there's going to be severe weather in Madison, but Madison will need to watch because it's farther south. It's actually the southern areas now. This piece of the line right here in Iowa, if that can make it to Madison and stay surface-based, we are talking about the potential for a severe weather threat still. So Madison I want to watch, but the severe weather threat, it's going to take still a few hours for it to get out there. Yes, Marshfield is in a tornado warning. And in Marshfield, you should be in your safe place right now, but it does look like the storm is just going to miss to the north of you. Even though you're in the tornado warning, the worst of it looks like it's going to stay to the north. Our severe storm here looking like it's weakening in central Wisconsin, which is good. LAX. Is there storms in LAX? I haven't even been watching LA. You want to get an idea of what's going on in LA? We'll take a look. Oh, La Crosse. Why did I... Sorry, that was really dumb of me. La Crosse. I was thinking LAX, like the airport. So that was funny. Made myself seem stupid there. The wind will reach La Crosse in about 10 minutes. The rain is going to take about 20 minutes to reach La Crosse. So you'll get a gust of wind in about 10, and then 10 minutes after that, the rain reaches La Crosse. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking with the LAX. Sorry, I sounded dumb on that one. Let's see. Eau Claire, you guys are in the clear. You guys are in the clear in Eau Claire. Yep. I used to work on Channel 13 in Eau Claire. Funny story, actually. So in Wisconsin Rapids, you look all right, and you're going to be okay in Wisconsin Rapids too. So funny story, when I first started my career, I worked in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I started in June of 2019. My first day on air was July 2nd, 2019. So with Eau Claire, that July, we had a huge severe weather day. It was like my third week on the job. I worked with the chief meteorologist, Darren. We both covered severe weather that day. But that was, we had a derecho that went through northern Wisconsin. So if any of you guys remember in 2019, we had a really big storm come through, a ton of wind, a ton of rain. It was a really great learning experience for me. It was really my first time covering severe weather in a formal setting. And it was just a memory I haven't forgotten. And also, there was an EF3 tornado that hit Chippewa Falls, I believe, in 2019 also, that I was there and covered on TV. That was all at WEAU. Pretty formative memories out there for sure. Definitely led me to be better at what I do now these days. But yeah, I have so many weather pictures from Eau Claire. I used to just drive around so I'm from Boston. I live in Boston now, and there's like no farms out here in Boston. So I would drive down those country roads in Eau Claire and just like take pictures of things, like look at the corn, the crops, stuff like that. I thought it was so cool. It was crazy. Like, it probably sounds so normal to all you guys, but for me, that was really unique stuff. Kind of miss those days sometimes. All right, let's get to some of your questions again here. Marshfield just lightning. Yeah, that storm is weakening very quickly now in central Wisconsin, so that's good news. Milwaukee, a tornado warning is possible, but it's a low chance, and it would be late tonight. Yeah, LAX, like Cali. So honestly, right now, most of Wisconsin, I am not particularly concerned for tornadoes, at least in the short run. If you're in Eau Claire, if you're in Rice Lake, Hayward, if you're anywhere in northwestern Wisconsin, you are in the clear now. The rest of the state, we do have the potential for tornadoes, but that potential seems pretty low, to be completely honest here. So things are trending the right direction. out there for sure. Wausau, chance at a tornado has decreased a lot. That tornado warning is going to be dropped. So good news in Wausau. That threat is very low now. Green Bay, Green Bay is going to be facing a severe weather threat, but that severe weather threat appears pretty low in Green Bay too. Most of these storms in Wisconsin, simply put, are just not holding together. They're falling apart. They're still going to produce, wind and rain, but at least the storms in this Wisconsin segment are not holding together well. It looks as though the severe weather threat, the worst possible scenario, is being avoided here. Still, like I said, still expect some wind and rain, but the worst of this likely not going to be realized with these storms, luckily. Lots of lightning in Eau Claire, huh? And I bet it's raining heavily in Trempealeau. La Crosse, Trempealeau, Winona, all you guys going to be in the same boat basically with the heavy rain and stuff. I don't expect anything too crazy out there though. Neenah, Green Bay, Appleton, Oshkosh. Again, you're going to get some storms, but the severe weather threat actually appears pretty low across most of Wisconsin at this time. That tornado warning actually just expired in Iowa as well. And just a quick update on our storm here in Oklahoma, just in case anyone's been following this. Does not look as clean on radar, but still have that tornado warning. Radar indicated near Snyder, Oklahoma. So if anyone happens to be near Snyder or Mountain Park, that is where we currently have a tornado warning in that area right now. Speaking of tornadoes, guys, some of you guys have been watching here for a while, so you may have heard me say this, but I actually just got back from a storm chase. I was chasing in Texas and Oklahoma. And so if you're interested in any of the highlights, I got pictures of tornadoes, some crazy hail, some wild wind. But I saw 3 tornadoes with my brother. We were out chasing. We saw 3 tornadoes in one day. Best chase they ever had. Highlights are on my Shorts feed and on my TikTok feed. Check those out if you're interested, because it was a pretty awesome experience. Really cool stuff. I'm going storm chasing again in May. So if you like storm chasing, be sure to follow along because you'll get updates. It's pretty cool. Like I said, I'll be out again. Like a month from today, I'll be storm chasing. So make sure to follow. You'll get cool storm chasing updates and see cool tornado pictures. And I can teach you a thing or two about tornadoes if you're curious. Maybe I'll make a video about how tornadoes form. Would people like that? Let me know. La Crosse timing, wind is going to be there in about 5 minutes. Rain will be there in about 15 to 20 minutes if you're in La Crosse. Elko, you're okay. You're okay right now. If there's a tornado watch right now, that tornado threat is pretty low, luckily. Still looking at the potential for severe weather in north central Wisconsin, but that tornado threat is decreasing out there pretty quickly too. Stratford, it seems as though you've just made it through the worst of it. Stratford, Wisconsin. The worst of it would be over at this point in Stratford. So if you're in Stratford and you've made it through so far, you should end up being okay here. Well, be careful out there, Paris. You can see that outflow boundary getting into La Crosse. I wouldn't stay in your roof very long, honestly. There's a lot of lightning out there. Insane wind and rain north of Rhinelander. Let's take a look at radar out there. Radar coverage is not great up there, but Rhinelander, I can see there are some storms that have passed through. Yeah, so those storms in Rhinelander, they're going to be in and out really quickly. So what you're getting now is not going to last long. Luckily, not severe for you, but there is stuff going on out there for sure. Let's see here, guys. By the way, if you're watching on TikTok or if you're watching on YouTube, happy to have you here. Hopefully, I'm able to help you guys out with this coverage. Also, just happy to talk to you guys and, talk weather. But if you're watching, just want to introduce myself again. My name is Tucker Antico. I'm a meteorologist. I work on TV at Boston 25 News right now. I got my degree in meteorology from Penn State. So you're getting weather information from an expert here. And these days, on social media, there's a lot of people out there who fake this stuff, and it kind of drives me crazy. But the weather information you're going to get from me is legitimate. It's real. It's information you can trust. So if you're watching on TikTok, consider following. As you know, you're always going to get good weather information from me. If you're watching on YouTube, consider subscribing. I'll give it to you how it is. I'm not someone who looks at the NWS, weather forecasts and just goes off what they're saying. I like to form my own thoughts, my own opinions, make my own forecasts. If I disagree with the forecast that's sort of mainstream, I'll tell you that. Now, that said, the people forecasting at the National Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center, they're some of the best in the world, so I'm not saying I deviate from them just to deviate, but I make my own forecast myself. And if you'd like to get an opinion that isn't necessarily, I feel weird saying it this way, but isn't necessarily mainstream, I'm always here to offer my weather thoughts and my weather opinions, especially if you guys are watching on TikTok. I do this on YouTube. My regular weather updates, I post every other day, weather updates on YouTube, and that's where you get my in-depth thoughts on the forecast, thoughts that you probably aren't going to get anywhere else. And I'm not a very big name on YouTube right now or anything like that, but what I'll say is that if anyone was following my track record, I'm very proud of what I've done. So I think if you're following on YouTube, that's at Tucker Weather for you guys who are watching on TikTok. But if you're following at Tucker Weather on YouTube, follow me. I can promise you the forecasts I'm able to provide are going to be good. And that's not to sound cocky, but I'm proud of my work, and I know it's been good. So I just want to put that out there. If you're looking for a new weather guy to follow, you got me. And I'm always here. I want to be accessible for you guys, answer your questions as best I can, because I just love what I do. I love what I do. I put everything into it, and that means helping you guys when I can. So I'm doing my best to answer your questions here. And like I said, on that note too, if you have questions I haven't got to, you can find me on Instagram at Tucker Weather also. I'm at Tucker Weather everywhere, but enough about that stuff. Let me get to answering your questions now. Let's see here. Antigo. I always thought that was funny because my last name's Antico. Antigo, you may get some strong wind out there. Our tornado warning was just dropped. So if you're in Wausau or anywhere surrounding, no tornado warning, just some strong wind, some heavy rain now. Antigo right out here. Our storm moving into the area may produce some strong wind, but it is not severe anymore, luckily. Wausau, same thing for you. Strong wind, not severe. Marshfield, you're now in the clear, by the way. Let's see. Let's get to Iowa here in a second. Brianna, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Brianna. YouTube's interesting. It takes a long time to grow on YouTube. But I'm here for the long haul. I ain't going anywhere. I ain't going nowhere. I love what I do too much, simply put. These storms in Iowa, then I'll get back to Wisconsin for you guys. I see a lot of people on TikTok at least asking questions. These storms in Iowa still strong. They've weakened a bit, but I do have concern over a potential tornado with either of these, as long as they stay separate and discrete like this. And by discrete, you see how they're separated. We'll be watching these storms, I feel, for at least the next hour or two. As long as they can stay separated like that, they have the potential to produce a tornado. There are some severe storm warnings, too, in northern Iowa, near Bancroft, near Clear Lake, Mason City as well. I know we've had questions about Mason City. You are included in a severe storm warning, and there is a little bit of rotation in these storms. Not enough that warrants a tornado warning, but there is a little bit of rotation, so we'll be watching that in northern Iowa as well as those storms continue. Our line of storms here in central Wisconsin continuing to move to the east, and actually kind of slowly making progress, but continuing to make progress. Let me see here. Yeah, no tornadoes in Stratford. That's good. Did you get Aaron? Did you get hail in Stratford? Are you saying you did or did not get hail? I'm curious. Viroqua, still safe in Viroqua. Yeah, you're all good, Rana. You're all good. Let me see here. La Crosse, again, getting breezy in La Crosse. You still got about 15 minutes or so before that rain gets in. You can go to sleep in La Crosse. You'll be okay. I do not see a tornado threat in La Crosse. Great question, though. Great question from there on TikTok. You're all right in La Crosse. Toma, same thing. You're okay in Toma. Green Bay, you should be okay, but I can't guarantee it right now. So take precautions as if there is going to be a storm, but you don't need to be worried quite as much as you would otherwise. All right, let's see. Omaha, good question. We haven't talked much about that area, Nebraska. Nebraska. But Omaha, that severe weather threat should be over out there. So you're all good now. If you're in Omaha, you've made it. Congratulations. You made it through this one. The Dells, you're all good in the Dells. Lake Mills, that severe weather threat seems pretty low out there too. You should be fine there. Yeah, a lot of questions. Everyone's asking questions about La Crosse. La Crosse, you are all good, guys. You're going to get thunder, you're going to get lightning, you're going to get rain. There's going to be gusty wind, but I do not expect severe weather, not from what I see right now in La Crosse, Wisconsin. You should be okay out there. Yeah, hey, you guys, anyone seeing, yeah, I guess it's probably pretty dark. You guys seeing anything cool? Anything, yeah, you guys are all right in Marshfield. Who was that? Thanks for that, Sarah. Thanks for the update. Doing all right in Marshfield there. Seems like everyone's seemingly doing all right in Marshfield. Thanks, Leah. I hope I see you again here soon. I really appreciate it. Leah or Leah, however you say your name. Let's see. St. Joseph, you should be clear out there. Brianna, you should be clear out there. These storms seem to be sagging south. Yeah, you're all good in St. Joseph now. Luckily, today, guys, could have been much worse, to be honest. We are fortunate that it's not. There's a lot of power, a lot of juice in the atmosphere, but sometimes these storms, they're not able to tap into that juice very well. Today's one of those days we're doing all right. Yeah, hey, Ryan, I feel that. I love storms, so when they don't produce, I totally feel. But hey, you know what? If you guys like storms and you're not seeing what you want in Minnesota and Wisconsin, your peak severe weather season still doesn't begin for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And you're getting this early on. You got a long time to catch up on your storms out there. You got plenty of time. You guys are going to be doing, you guys got a lot of time ahead here. Let's see. Not hearing any thunder in La Crosse. Let's see what's going on out there. Let's see. You know, part of the reason you may not be hearing as much thunder is because there is so much rain falling. That rain can actually help to dampen the sound, which sounds funny, but it happens with snow too. Have you guys ever heard of thunder snow? If you guys know what thunder snow is, the snowfall actually dampens the sound a bit, and it prevents the sound from traveling out as far and wide. So you have to be much closer to the rain or snow or the lightning strike ultimately to hear. So that's likely what's happening with you in La Crosse. Although, to be honest, I'm not seeing a ton of lightning. You can see any of those pluses. Those are lightning strikes. But there is not a ton of lightning out there either. So it makes sense if you're not hearing thunder. You'll definitely hear a little bit when the rain gets in. But right now, I don't expect that's going to be... you probably won't for a little bit here. Honestly, this line is continuing to just drag its feet. I know I said like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes till the rain gets into La Crosse. It really may be another 15 minutes before that rain actually gets into La Crosse at this point because it is taking its grand old time. So yeah, just something to note there. Let me see what else people are saying out here. You should be okay in Appleton, but there is still a chance for some severe weather. So I want you to be on alert just in case tonight, just in case. Prepare for a worst case scenario. Eastern Wisconsin, I can't guarantee that the severe weather threat is over, but, the worst of it, the worst case scenario seems to be being avoided everywhere. We did just get an extension on our severe storm in the Wausau area. I believed that this was expiring earlier. It has not. The National Weather Service does see enough evidence to warn this once again, so we do have a severe storm warning, not a tornado warning. This includes Wausau. Do I have anybody watching from Wausau right now? Let me know what you're seeing. Tell me if you're in Wausau and tell me what you're seeing outside or noticing with this storm coming through. I'm just curious because your reports mean a lot. All right, we got Maddie. We got Leo. We got Kaylee. All right, we got a lot of Wausau people here. Okay, what are you guys seeing? Windy and rainy? Not seeing anything. Lots of wind from Wausau. No rain, just lightning. Okay, lots of darkness. These are the reports we are getting from Wausau right now. Merrill, heavy rain and wind. And I'll get to Mason City as well. Thanks for the updates, guys. So let's see. We also got Rachel. Heavy rain and very, very fast rain. Oh, wind. That makes sense. Well, it makes sense if the wind and rain is moving fast. Heavy rain and wind in Wausau. Okay. All right. So that sounds about right. whether or not this is a severe storm, it is mainly just wind and rain. Doesn't sound like anyone's seeing any hail. This storm is warned for hail in Wausau. Doesn't mean it's happening. I guess from your reports, it does not sound like there was much hail. There is still going to be a lower severe weather threat across the northeastern portion of Wisconsin here through the rest of the evening. This includes Antigo, Shawano, Keshena, Marionette. Green Bay may see severe weather. The tornado threat, however, does appear pretty low, which is good news there. All right, let's do a little exploring here now. Mason City, Iowa, I'm going to get to. I saw a question about that. Mason City, give me a shout. Antigo? Oh, it's Antigo? I never knew that. I always thought it was Antigo. It's Antigo? Is that true? What? I lived in Wisconsin. Maybe I just said Antigo because my last name's Antico. I lived in Wisconsin for 2 years, so that's why I got some of the names. Okay, I thought it was Antigo, right? Yeah, I can nail some Wisconsin names, especially out in western Wisconsin, because I had to learn how to pronounce everything. Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, Menominee, Kinnickinnick. That was always a fun one to see on 94 signs. Wabasha, Winona, Trempealeau, Onalaska, La Crosse. Yeah, all those. Prairie du Chien. Prairie du Chien was a fun one. That one I remember. I had no idea how to pronounce that off the bat. Yeah, so that's proof that I lived there. Who else is gonna know how to say Prairie du Chien? That is the craziest name I've ever read. I digress. Mason City talked about how there was a severe storm warning. That severe storm warning has since expired. Antigo, is that how it is in Antigo? I've heard 3 different ways how to say that town now. You guys are all confusing me now. All right, Mason City. Still some strong storms there. The severe storm warning has expired. Here's what's interesting. You can actually see the front on radar. You see that thin gray line there? I shouldn't put an arrow there. You see that thin gray line on radar here? That is where we are likely to see some more storms develop. So we may get more storms to pop up here as we get into the eastern half of Iowa. So out here over the next few hours, I will be looking at the potential for more storm development. That would include some places like Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City over the next few hours. It's not a guarantee, but it is something that I will be watching closely. I'm surprised. This is good news, but these 2 storms here moving into the Des Moines area really haven't ended up pulsing up anymore. I still believe there is a tornado potential with these 2, but it is not as significant as I had feared. That said, we still need to be watching in central Iowa. Going to our southern storm, because I did see a question about that earlier, and you're all good in Stratford now. You're all good. Great question. You're all good there. We still have a tornado warning, just radar indicated, on our storm near Snyder, Oklahoma. This storm not moving very much, and honestly, guys, it looks pretty messy, whereas it did look like this could have actually been producing a tornado earlier, whereas it did look like that at least. Right around here, it looked like we may have had something happening right around here. It does not appear to be the case anymore. So still a strong storm, but I'm not seeing the same tornado threat that I did in southwestern Oklahoma like I had before. Some random severe storm warning out here, actually, in rural southwestern Texas. I was actually storm chasing right around here. Just 6 days ago, I was out near Fort Stockton chasing some severe weather. So that was pretty cool. To be honest, Brianna, I was thinking this yesterday too. I didn't say it in my video I made, but I was thinking this. I don't think we needed a moderate risk, honestly. I understand why they did it. I was actually pretty surprised to see they put the day 3 moderate out. And in a lot of places, this could have ended up just being a slight risk. Like Wisconsin, this could have just ended up being a slight risk easily. I personally would have probably issued an enhanced risk, but that's just me personally. Yeah, you're going to be just fine, Ian. Yeah, no, I would have issued probably an enhanced risk for this one personally. Aaron, did you say, are you trying to go out and run, Aaron? It's got to be darn wet in Stratford. But yeah, you're all good in Stratford. Let's see. Northeast Wisconsin border. I missed that earlier. Tons of lightning. Okay, that's good to know. I'm going to grab a glass of water here in a moment, guys. Appleton, I don't expect you're going to see anything big, but there is going to be some storm activity out there without a doubt. So while there will be some storms, I don't expect anything big. Honestly, like I said, most of Wisconsin, that severe weather threat is pretty low. Yeah, you're right. At least the moderate, it did catch people's attention. I just hate when the next time maybe people don't pay as close attention. You just gotta hope. It's a careful balance. You don't want to be the boy that cried wolf when it comes to severe weather coverage. I don't think anyone ever tries to be that, but yeah. Eau Claire is done with severe weather. Logan, you're all good in Eau Claire. Give me a moment, guys. I'm going to grab a glass of water because I've been talking for a while, so give me a second. Might grab some Cheez-Its, too. Running on Cheez-Its and water tonight. Sorry if you see me eating on the stream. I'll choose my mouth closed here. Just give me a sec. I need a little snack. I need a little refresher. Antigo. Did I say that right, MMO? Give me one sec, guys. Just refueling. Just eating my snack. Just give me one moment. These Cheez-Its could be from Wisconsin. You never know where the cheese is from. These Cheez-Its could be straight out of Wisconsin. Who knows? Wait, I did it? Steph says I did it right. Antigo. Did I do it right finally? Antigo. I hope so. Let's see. Berlin, Wisconsin, that severe weather threat is pretty low. Same with Beloit. The severe weather threat is pretty low. I'm seeing some people. Oh, wait, is it A? Anigo? Guys, I have heard like 5 different ways to pronounce this town. Is it Antigo or Antego? Is it like an E or an E? E or E? That's the first thing I need to get straight here. No, Keen. That's like the 6th different way to pronounce it. Oh, I see. Braden, and whoever was just said that on the live. The T is silent. Anigo. Is that what I'm getting from this? Anigo. Is it Annie? Is that correct? Antugo? Get out of here. No way it's Antugo. I see you, Adeline, actually. I see you. I see you now. I'm still eating my snack, by the way, so I'm going to get back to talking in a minute. But at least the weather's cooperating. It's quiet here for a second. Yes, Adeline. I got you. Adeline. Illinois severe weather threat is going to be greatest in the northern part of the state. It's going to be more so early in the morning or very late tonight. But the severe weather threat in Illinois seems like it's going to be on the low side of things. Especially the hail and tornado threat. Damaging wind seems to be a bit higher, but you should be okay in Illinois. Just be on alert just in case. All right. Almost done with my snack. Thanks, Braden, for the assist on that one. I needed some help, clearly. Hey, I love teaching weather. And I love when you guys teach me how to pronounce names of towns in your state. You should have seen me. I was all over the place. What's the one town? Every state seems to have it except Massachusetts, and I always mess it up. It's like Chillicothe? Chillicothe, right? Is that how it is? You guys know what I'm talking about? Chillicothe? Anyone know that name? I feel like every town has it, and I always say that one wrong. Okay. Well, all right. We're all good now. All good now. Upstate New York. Great question. Of course, I like cough and water now, and I'm good. Oh, God. All right. Okay, we're good now. Back to coverage. And that's all a good question in chat. One thing I do want to make note of is that we do have a severe weather threat tomorrow as well. So I'm pulling that up on our map here. And what you can see is a level 3 severe weather risk for portions of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York tomorrow. We also have a level 2 risk for portions of upstate New York. And this level 2 risk extends very far all the way into Texas and Oklahoma as well. So our severe weather threat tomorrow is going to be greatest from Columbus, Ohio, all the way up into, what would that be? Basically, what is that? It's not Binghamton. What is that? Syracuse. That's Syracuse right there. Columbus, Ohio into Syracuse, New York is where we're going to have our level 3 risk for severe weather tomorrow. So basically, if you guys are a little bit farther to the east, if you guys are watching from Ohio, do I have any Ohio folks on here? Drop me an OH if you are. Steph here and some good thunder. Junction City, Kansas, you're all good too. But if you're in Ohio, Pennsylvania, or New York, tomorrow the greatest severe weather threat is going to be out your direction. Emmy's from Ohio. Let's go. We got Indiana on here. We got Ohio. We got New York, Michigan. All right, guys. Welcome in. Laura's from Ohio. Okay. Okay, so the level 3 severe weather risk tomorrow, however, is going to be a bit different. Logan reporting hail in Mason City, by the way. Appreciate that. Appreciate that report. But basically, the level 3 risk tomorrow, unlike today, where our severe weather threat was mainly for tornadoes, tomorrow's severe weather threat is mainly going to be damaging wind. So damaging wind will be our primary threat, and we're going to see that across places, like I said, Ohio, especially into upstate New York. And we do have a level 2 risk, which is going to be very broad. It extends from really southern Quebec all the way down through Missouri, Illinois. We actually even top it off with a level 3 risk, a small level 3 risk in Texas. So a very broad area of potential severe weather tomorrow. Other major cities included in this: Detroit, Indianapolis, Memphis, Tennessee. Actually, you're not going to be in it in Memphis. Sorry about that. Oh, no. Congratulations. You're not going to be in it. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma included as well. St. Louis, you're on the very edge of this too. So we got a few different areas that are going to be facing severe weather as we get into the daytime tomorrow. So just wanted to give you an update on that. And if storms get bad tomorrow, I will be back here live covering those storms as well. Yeah, if you're in Albany, you're okay. You're okay in Albany. These storms essentially are going to die out when it gets dark, and they're just going to fade away. Teha Kapi. I don't even know how to say that, Ashley. That is another wild name. That is exactly what I'm talking about right there. What's happening in southwest Oklahoma right now? Let's take a look. We're going to take a trip back down to Oklahoma here. I'm going to take this off so that it's no longer in our way. And by the way, Oklahoma and Texas will be facing some severe weather threats beyond today. If you take a look at my latest YouTube video, I did talk a little bit about the next round of severe weather, which is going to come after this one. And then Lexi, I'll get to the Dells question for you in a second. So this storm in southwest Oklahoma right here, it has moved away from Altus. It has moved away from Snyder. It's moving in the direction of Medicine Park right now. It's right by the Wichita Mountains National Wildlife Refuge. It looks as though we may have two different areas of rotation on here. But if there's a tornado right now, it would most likely be produced where I just circled. That would be moving into the wildlife refuge out there. It'd be right around. Actually, the greatest rotation would be right here. This storm again moving into the mountains out there. Tornado warned, not confirmed, just radar indicated. We also have another severe storm, which was just issued, two more that are in the western portion of Oklahoma. This one moving in the direction of Anadarko. Not tornado warned, not tornado tagged, but does have the potential to produce hail and strong wind. And we have a clump of storms by Weatherford, Oklahoma here. Again, doesn't look like a tornado producer to me, but the potential for hail and wind will be produced by this storm. So that's something that we'll be watching out there as well, those two clumps. Otherwise, relatively quiet out there. All of a sudden, very quiet in a couple different places. Still a flooding threat across portions of northeastern Kansas. Topeka's in a spot that may get into some flooding. But the severe weather threat, like I said, in Kansas is lower once more because we have that outflow from the storms. It's cooled the air. It's made it more stable. If you're in St. Joseph, you're okay. Atchison, you're also okay for severe weather. Taking a look at central and northern Iowa, still some strong storms out there, but no severe storms at this moment. That said, remember I was talking about storms popping up on this line right here? See that thin gray line? Shy, yeah, the cap is breaking right now, actually. It's breaking literally as we talk. Great observation there. So see this thin gray line I was talking about? Watch this. Give it about 20 minutes. We are going to see storms explode through central Iowa here. Just wait for it. The cap is breaking right now. What is happening is the front, it's pushing that air up, and that air, it's getting above the cap and just exploding into storms. Savannah asked, what's all that gray? And basically the gray is just, that's more small stuff being picked up on our radar. That could literally be dust, it could be dirt, it could be bugs, small things on radar. But central Iowa, storms are about to explode through the central part of the state. It does not necessarily mean that these will be severe storms, but there will be a lot of storms and heavy rain. So I'm not trying to panic you. Doesn't mean it's going to be crazy tornadoes or anything like that. There is a tornado threat still, but there is certainly going to be storms that pop up here. Who here is watching from Iowa? Drop me an IA in the chat if you're in Iowa. Let's see. Tehachapi. That is a crazy name. All right. By the way, if you guys are... Oh, sorry. Hold up. Just got a severe storm warning in central Iowa. Remember I mentioned Ames a while ago. Ames is included in this severe storm warning. And Riley is in Ames. Wow, how convenient. We got David and Davis in Iowa. We got... seems like we got a lot of people in Iowa. We got someone's son in Waverly, Iowa. Okay. I got a good friend in Des Moines. I almost took a job in Des Moines. I don't know if you guys know KCCI. I think it's Channel 8. I was interviewing for a job there, way back. Not even that far back, actually. It was like 3 years ago. Didn't end up moving there or anything like that. But okay, we got some people who watch KCCI. Okay. Yeah, I was very close to being a meteorologist there. Very close. Speaking of Ames, Riley, what are you seeing in Ames right now? Because Ames under this severe storm warning, passing through the center of the city right now, and this is likely producing some strong wind. In fact, we can, actually we can't see it very well. Our radar's not giving us a very clean look, but you can tell that there is some heavy rain, possibly some hail here too. Actually, I'm not even seeing much hail. At least some heavy rain in Ames. So getting a little busy out there. Let's see. A select question. You're okay by Albany. Yeah, Mattia, you're good by Albany. You're okay. Let's see. Let me get back to Wisconsin here. I was gonna say we do have our one severe storm still in Wisconsin. Just one moving near Anigo. Hope I said it right that time. Actually, moving into the area right now. This will be impacting portions of northeastern Wisconsin, but to be honest, it's not the biggest severe weather threat. Riley says they're hearing hail right now in Ames, Iowa, so I would expect that storm to be producing hail as it continues to move forward for a little while here. But one severe storm in Wisconsin right now, moving into northeastern Wisconsin. Who's in La Crosse? Gosh, that rain still hasn't reached you guys yet, has it? It is actually seemingly stalled right now. La Crosse, Wisconsin, you guys are going to get rain, but it is moving so slow. It does not want to get into La Crosse. Let's see who we got here. We got a lot of people watching from La Crosse right now. No tornado in Ames, just some hail, Taylor. Just some hail out there. I was going to say, those of you guys who are watching on TikTok, I am also streaming here on YouTube as well. You can find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube. If you have questions I'm not seeing and you're putting them on TikTok, there are less people watching on YouTube right now, so I will see your questions a lot easier. So find me at Tucker Weather on YouTube. And also, I'm really trying to build a bigger community there too, so consider subscribing. It really means, probably means more than you realize. I'm trying to grind out here, you know what I mean? Those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, thanks for being here, as always. And everyone who is just tuning in, by the way, my name's Tucker. I'm a meteorologist. I actually work on TV in Boston. I'm living my life dream. I've wanted to be a meteorologist since I was literally younger than I can even remember. I am, like I said, living my dream. And this is all I've wanted to do my whole life. So I'm really fortunate to do what I do. But I am a meteorologist. I have a lot of experience covering severe weather. And if you follow here, you are going to be getting good weather information you can trust. So that was a long roundabout way to say consider following. This is information you can trust. I'm always going to keep you ahead of the storms. And I'll always be able to teach you. If you have any questions about weather, I'm happy to break down some of the things that you're seeing or may have heard about and clear things up or teach you something cool and new. So, yeah, there you go. All right. Let's see what we got here. I do see a severe storm in Antigo. Oops. Not a tornado warning, though. Just a severe storm warning right now. Let's see what else we have here. Stevens Point. You're going to be all right in Stevens Point. It's about to rain there. It's going to be a bit breezy, but not severe. Toma, same thing. Some rain, some wind. You're going to be okay there, though. Evelyn, you can go to sleep out there in Nekusco, Wisconsin. Minnesota's all clear now unless you're in the far south and eastern part of the state. Missouri looks to be okay if you're closer to St. Louis, although if you're in the north and if you're closer to Kansas City, that's where there may be some strong storms. The severe weather threat is pretty low, but there actually is a flooding risk out closer to Kansas City, so we need to keep an eye on that. This radar, I'm currently using radar scope. I'm currently using radar Omega. I use radar scope as well. I can't endorse either of them, but I use them both. So yeah, there you go. Iowa, we're doing okay right now, actually. We do have that one severe storm that's just moved through Ames. That one is producing hail, some damaging wind, possibly. Like I said, remember I was talking about these storms are really going to explode through central Iowa along this gray line here. Look at the north side of it right here. You can already see those storms really bursting very quickly. Not severe, but certainly picking up. Let's see what else we have here. Madison, you're going to be okay tonight. There is still a low chance for severe weather, though, so take that seriously. Indiana, that threat for severe weather is on the lower side tomorrow, but it is going to be higher if you're in closer to Cincinnati area. I know that's Ohio, but the closer you get to Cincinnati, the higher the severe weather risk will be in Indiana tomorrow. Mainly a damaging wind threat. If you're in BRF, you're all right. You're all right in BRF. Sedalia, Missouri. Tell me which part of the state that's in again. I know I've forecasted for Sedalia before. Tell me which part of the state that's in, though. I'll be able to answer that better. Wednesday's severe weather threat's going to be confined to Texas and Oklahoma. Hey, always better safe than sorry, Ashley. And thanks for that report, Griffin. Yeah, Beaver Dam, you should be okay out there. Actually, let me double check that. Sedalia is near, thank you so much for that update. NY, Sedalia is near Kansas City. That is helpful. So Sedalia, that severe weather threat is kind of low, but there will be storms out there. There could actually be a little bit of flooding. The flooding threat may be the biggest concern. Severe weather I'm less concerned about out there. Let me take a look at Beaver Dam for you too really quick. Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, that would be, of course. Beaver Dam, the threat for severe weather, it's pretty darn low. I do believe you're going to end up being all right out there tonight. the line of storms coming in, just it's falling apart pretty quickly, so you should be all right. It's going to be stormy still, but I don't expect much severe weather. The storm near Ames, Iowa, really producing a lot more lightning now. That tells me the updraft is active, and this thing may stay pretty strong. Winona, you're totally fine out there in Winona. So good news on that one. Happy to help Morgan. I get anxiety. I'm happy to help when I can. So I totally understand that. Happy to help you too, Third Coaster. Let's see. Seeing some questions. Des Moines, I guess we can jump back into. It's right on the screen right now. That second storm that was previously tornado warned moving into the north and west side of Des Moines, it's actually dying really quickly. So Des Moines looks as though it's going to be all right for now. And I don't really expect severe weather in Des Moines. But what I will say is that there are, like I said, there are going to be storms that pop up on this gray line here. That's probably the front helping to lift storms. And I do expect there is going to be some heavy rain that eventually moves through Des Moines. Likely some thunder and lightning. But severe weather seems less likely in Des Moines, luckily. So severe weather unlikely, but storms likely if you are in Des Moines. La Crosse, you're doing all right. You're going to be just fine in La Crosse. That severe weather threat's pretty low. Let's see. How does radar pick up lightning? To be completely honest, I believe lightning is detected separate by, I believe it's ASOS sites. So there are different sites that can detect lightning, and they will basically triangulate where a strike was, and they'll be able to figure out how close they were to the strike based on, like, so say you have a triangle, okay? And I'm trying to think of a way to, okay, so you got a triangle here. If you get a lightning strike in the top middle of the triangle, the top of it's going to sense that lightning strike first, and the bottom corners are going to sense it last. And it'll be able to say, okay, it took this much time for that strike to hit this sensor and this much time for that strike to hit these other two sensors. It must be right here, if that makes sense. I believe that's how we detect lightning. This right now is the only patch hitting Iowa. I do expect there are more storms that are going to come through as we see storms quickly popping up along this gray line here. That should be the cold front right here that you're seeing initiate all those new storms. So some activity still to come. Stevens Point, you're all good in Stevens Point. All good out there, Abby. Luckily. Yeah, it is pretty cool how lightning comes together like that. Let's see here. Yeah, Fort Dodge. Hey, if you're in Fort Dodge, it's either raining on top of you right now or you're in the clear, basically. You know it right now if it's hitting you. Wisconsin Dells, you're all good out there in Wisconsin Dells. You're okay. You're okay. Plymouth, Wisconsin looks okay as well. There could still be some storms in these places. Oh, Lexi, where are you at? There could still be some storms in these places, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be severe weather necessarily. Yeah, Iowa City, again, one of those places, again, I expect there's going to be storms. Doesn't mean severe weather, although there is still a severe weather threat in Iowa City. So do be on alert, be aware of that. Story City, Iowa. Where's Story City? I'll be able to help you if you tell me where it is. Why do people name things cities, by the way, when they're really, like, not really cities? I always think that's kind of goofy. Some places that are just too small to be called a city. Let me see some of these other questions here. Story City is above Ames. Appreciate that. Okay, we can work with that. So basically, if you're in Story City, I assume that means north of Ames. You're going to get some storms in Story City. But okay, there we go. Appreciate. Oh, I see it. Story City. There it is. It is a little town. It's cute. Story City Carousel shows up on my map. Story City, that severe storm is passing to your south, luckily, but you are going to get storms as this part of the line develops and moves in. Doesn't mean they're going to be severe, but in about the next 45 minutes, there will be another round of storms that moves through the Story City. Well, it is a little cute town. I like when I zoom in on these towns and they're like perfectly gridded. Some of these small towns, you know what I'm talking about? Like here, I'll stop the loop for a second. Like Des Moines, like there's a lot going on. It's a big city. You look at like Story City, for example. And you can see like it's all perfectly square and gridded. Also, as a New Englander, I'm not used to things that are like laid out well like this. Like, look at that. It's just like a little, I like that. It's a nice little place. See, I bet Randall's the same thing. Like, oh, actually, that has a surprising number of curves. That's not what I was looking for. Jewel Junction. Again, very square. Very square. See? Look at that. And look at, they got 2 churches in this town, and it's a tiny town. That's how you know you're in the Midwest. I respect it. I love it. Let's see. Oshkosh, you're going to be all right tonight. There could still be some heavy rain, some thunder and lightning, but I don't expect you're going to have severe weather out there. Waverly, Iowa. Tell me where Waverly is, Ellie, and I'll be able to give you a better answer. What is heat lightning? Anyone know what heat lightning is? The answer is that it's fake. Well, actually, it's just the name for lightning that you see but can't hear the thunder. So heat lightning really isn't special. It's just when there's lightning, but it's too far away to hear the thunder. So that's actually all it is, which is kind of interesting. St. Joseph, Missouri, beats. You're all good out there. No problems out there. Let's see. Mason City, constant light hail, rain, and thunder. Thanks for the update, Logan. Oh, we just got a tornado warning, guys. This is catching me a little bit by surprise, but it's our same storm that produced the tornado warnings earlier. So we're going to jump into this now. It is the one that just passed through the Inigo area. And that is actually a pretty menacing look on radar. To be honest, I was not watching this very closely. I should have been watching it more closely, to be honest. But we do have a tornado warning now. It just issued, and you can see we have this area of rotation here. It's very clear. It's radar indicated, but what we're looking at is this red and blue colors side by side. You see that? We call this a couplet in meteorology. This couplet tells us that there is strong rotation in a storm. So if there is a tornado occurring, it would be just south of Phlox. Just south of Phlox, Wisconsin. I'll take a look at our debris tracker. Not seeing any debris, but we do have this hook shape on our radar here. This is going to be moving in the direction of White Lake and Mountain, Wisconsin. It's actually going to be passing through the Menominee Reservation. So I know there's not a huge population out there, but it's passing through the Menominee Reservation right through that county, and it will pop out on the other side near Mountain, Wisconsin. Again, this is the same storm segment that was producing tornadoes earlier, farther in western Wisconsin. And while it is moving through some lower populated areas, this is something, once again, it appears we're going to have to watch as it moves into far northeastern Wisconsin. Green Bay will not be impacted. Neither will Appleton or Oshkosh. This is north of you guys. It will stay north of you guys as well. So I want to make note of that. Now that that is a tornado-warned storm, this is something that we'll be putting our focus on, and we'll be waiting for more updates here too. Gresham, Wisconsin, tornado warning. I assume Gresham is in this warning somewhere, although I don't know exactly where Gresham is, but that would make sense if you are here and you just got the warning. That would make a lot of sense. That is our only tornado warning in the state of Wisconsin right now, luckily. Crimson Roses, you should be okay out there in Omaha now. The cold front has passed through, luckily. Stevens Point, you're all good in Stevens Point now. Actually, the severe weather threat in Stevens Point, it's pretty low. You're just going to get some thunder and lightning and rain. So Stevens Point, you're all good out there. Minneapolis, you're in the clear as well. Altoona, Iowa. What part of the state is Altoona, Iowa in? Because I am less familiar with Altoona, Iowa. I know of a lot of Altoonas. I need to know which part of the state Altoona, Iowa is in, though. In Waverly, Iowa. Let me look. I'll just look up where Altoona and Waverly are myself, since I'm getting questions about those places. We have in Altoona, Pennsylvania, Altoona, Wisconsin, Altoona, Iowa. Let's see. Oh, okay, Des Moines area. There will be storms there in about an hour. The severe weather threat is low to medium. The storms will be there in about an hour. Waverly, Iowa. Let's take a look at Waverly, Iowa. And for Waverly, that is in a place where there could be some severe weather later on tonight. Actually, I see Waverly on the map. But more likely, it's just going to be, again, similar to what we're seeing in Wisconsin, some regular strong storms. and less likely a severe threat, less likely. We continue to track this tornado warned storm here, moving through the Menominee Indian Reservation out here in Wisconsin. That is our one tornado warned storm. We also got, let me see, I'm scrolling for more questions here. Platteville, Wisconsin. So, Platteville, actually, I was looking at earlier. Also, randomly love the name Platteville. It's just kind of fun to say, you know what I'm talking about? Platteville, you're in a spot where I don't expect you're going to see much severe weather, as the line of storms, like I said, coming in, it's weakened quite a bit. Now, there's still about 2 hours before storms get in, so I'd stay on alert. But the threat for severe weather in Platteville does appear to be kind of on the lower side here, luckily. And if there is severe weather, it's most likely to be damaging wind at this point. So, doing all right out there. Anna going to be impacted by that storm. Let me know what you see when it gets in there, Anna. All right, let me see what else we got here. Again, trying to keep up with your questions. If you guys are in Iowa, it'd be helpful if you can give me some town names near cities. Like if you're near, like give me something like if you live within like a half hour of Des Moines, please say Des Moines. That'll be more helpful. Okay, Western Iowa. See Cassandra, that helps a lot. Exactly that right there. Western. Oh, I see Carroll. Carroll, you're completely in the clear now. You're all good. Same with Sioux Falls and Sioux City for that matter. You guys are all in the clear out there. Mezzo Matt's here. This kid is awesome when it comes to severe weather coverage in the chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Future broadcaster, I think, still, perhaps. Des Moines, you are going to get some storms later on tonight, but this threat for severe weather in Des Moines is actually on the lower side. It just does not seem like storms are getting together very well. I do want to get an update for you guys back here on our storm getting into Menominee County in Wisconsin. The rotation not as defined as it was before, and good to hear about the. Oh, we got Mesomat and Markowitz in here. Good to hear that you're still on track with that, Mesomat. We have this area of rotation still weakening quickly, actually, in Menominee County here in northeastern Wisconsin. Still some rotation on radar here, but the thing with this storm is that it looks like it's more apt to pulse up here. So I'm not convinced we're going to see this potential tornado for very long. That said, I don't expect we are going to be done with the storm for a little while either. So if it does produce a tornado, it's likely to be brief, but we may be tracking this one for another, it could be up to another hour as it continues to move to the northeastern, move through the northeastern portion of the state. Otherwise, again, this is our only tornado warning in Wisconsin. We still have a tornado warning out in Oklahoma right now. Let's take a closer look at this one. Although that warning's about to expire. I'm a little curious what this guy's doing here. Mainly severe storms for hail in Oklahoma right now, but that is an area I just want to take another look at. No, it doesn't look like too much. So hail and wind in southern Oklahoma right now. That may impact OKC a little bit later tonight. You're all good, Phoebe, in Plymouth, Wisconsin, by the way. That may impact Oklahoma City later tonight. But at this time, it's mainly just a wind and hail threat. So we'll be watching OKC for some potential severe weather. We just got an extension on that severe storm warning near Ames, Iowa. This is continued to be warned for just damaging wind, but we do know it's producing some hail. Oh, sick. That was sick, Matt. Let's see here. So this moving through Iowa again, continuing to produce some hail, some damaging wind. We got a report earlier from who gave me the report? I'm forgetting who gave me the Ames report, but we got that Ames report, which was really helpful that there is hail in fact falling. This is moving in the direction of Conrad, Grundy Center, kind of some more rural areas, Zeering, St. Anthony, Clemens, Union, Witten, Iowa. And as I mentioned before, remember I said that gray line, that's your cold front coming through, is going to pop up a bunch of storms. Well, you can see it right here. Those storms, if we put this in motion, quickly bursting on the scene. And that is the cold front, again, pushing that warm air near the ground upwards into the atmosphere. That warm air turns into clouds, rain, thunder, lightning, and all that good stuff. Well, I don't know if it's good. Depends on what you think of storms. But that's what's happening right now. Yeah, Angel, you're all good. Stevens Point looks all good here. Honestly, guys, again, I was saying this before. Yeah, isn't it cool to see Jackie? I'm glad you appreciate that. It is really cool to see. Um, it really cool meteorology at work here. A lot of times, think about how many hot and humid days, guys, that we have in the summer. But we don't always get storms, right? And there's a couple reasons for that. Sometimes when it's hot and humid, the atmosphere has a cap on it, and you just can't burst the cap. And by burst the cap, it's like putting a lid on boiling water. All that steam hits the lid, and it just stops. You know what I mean? But some days it's warm and humid, and there's not a cap, and we still don't get storms. So why would that happen? Well, the thing is, storms need a bit of a kick to get going. And a lot of times that kick includes something like a front, which will help to push that air through the atmosphere and lift it to a point where it just starts rising on its own, thanks to momentum. So that's basically how we end up getting severe storms along fronts, even just any thunderstorms. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen here in the western portion of Iowa. And yeah, Matt, yesterday, guys, if you were unaware, there was a huge tornado in Nebraska yesterday. That was sort of the initial burst of this severe weather threat. Oh, Matt, let's go. Thanks, dude. Boone, Iowa. Interesting. Yeah, let me know if you drop something in the chat if you see something cool. Yeah, Rebecca, you should be all right in Burlington, but there is still a chance for some severe weather, although it does appear to be a lower threat out there. Kansas City, yes, you can go to sleep in Kansas City. There are going to be storms. The severe weather threat does not appear to be very high. These storms are what we call outflow dominant. So what I'm seeing here is some of these thin lines on radar. These are some of the more subtle things. And when you have that thin line on radar showing up, that tells me that the rain has cooled the air enough underneath the storm that it's created a stable layer. And that makes it very hard for things like tornadoes to form. So you should be all right. We're just talking about Ames out there, Addie, and you should be all right out there in Ames now. That storm is moving away from Ames. It's actually basically out of the area, but there'll be a second round of storms. Certainly some heavy rain out there too. Appleton, you should be okay. Starting to get bad in La Crosse. I bet, Riley, that rain's just getting in here. Hey, I love storm chasing. Like I said, if you guys are interested in my highlights, I got videos posted here on TikTok and on my YouTube Shorts. Saw 3 tornadoes in one day. I want to get back to our severe storm, our tornado warning storm, rather, in the Menominee Indian Reservation, Menominee County. I believe it's one of 2 counties in the United States that is closed off to the public. One of 2 counties, I believe. Not seeing as much rotation on this. Still seeing a little bit of a hook. Actually, I'm more interested in what may be going on right here, closer to White Lake and Markton. I'm not convinced there is. Yeah, I'm not seeing a ton of rotation, but it's actually this area near White Lake and Markton that looks like it'd be more likely to produce a tornado, if anything. But there are 2 areas to watch here near Menominee County here in Wisconsin, and these storms continue to move into and through northeastern Wisconsin. So I'm going to continue to watch that. Nothing crazy out there, and otherwise, like I said, who's still watching here from La Crosse, Wisconsin? Who's still watching from La Crosse? Because La Crosse is getting that heavy rain now. All right, we got Libby, we got Jesse, we got Kay. All right, so La Crosse getting to that heavy rain now. And no severe weather, but certainly is going to be windy and rainy for about the next half hour or so. I've got Megan, Mia. Oh, no, Mia's not there. Okay, but Mia is in Marionette, Wisconsin, where you should be all right out there, Marionette. Got a question about Lake City. Let's see. Lake City, Iowa. Yeah, I see that. You guys are okay. You guys should be okay in Lake City. You'll be okay no matter what in Lake City. It's just a matter of, I don't see you exactly in the map since you're in a small place, but you should not be getting severe weather out there, luckily. All right. By the way, guys, if you're just jumping on, I'm just going to reintroduce myself. A lot of you guys have been here for a bit, especially people watching on YouTube. My YouTube gang's been rolling here for a while. Appreciate all you. Oh, there we go. Appreciate my YouTube crew here. Yeah, I don't stream my chases, Ashley, but maybe someday if I end up, well, I don't know. I can't really have a. It's hard, I got a full-time job. It's hard to chase and have a full-time job at the same time. Maybe someday I'll end up doing more chasing. But oh, Reed Timmer was in Fall Creek. That is so interesting. Wow, I didn't know he'd go up there, but well, that would make sense. You could see the debris ball, so there was definitely a tornado out there. Let's see. Savannah, you should be, yeah, you'll be okay out there. If you're in Vernon County, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. There will be storms, but not severe stuff. I was going to say, just to reintroduce myself, since a bunch of you guys are jumping in here still on TikTok. My name's Tucker. Oh, almost knocked my Cheez-Its box over. My name's Tucker. I'm a meteorologist. I've been doing weather since I was like a little kid. And ended up getting my degree in meteorology from Penn State. I work on TV in Boston as a professional meteorologist. So consider following here on TikTok. Consider subscribing if you're watching on YouTube. You're going to get good weather information here, information you can trust, and information that will be hype-free. I'm always going to give you the weather the way I see it. We have some of the best meteorologists in the world forecasting at places like the National Weather Service, Storm Prediction Center. And I tend to agree with what they say, but if I disagree, I'll tell you have my opinion on the forecast too. So you're always going to get it straight from me. So like I said, consider following if you're watching here on TikTok. And if you're also if you're watching on TikTok, consider checking out my YouTube where I'm streaming right now as well at Tucker Weather. I will see your questions a lot quicker on YouTube if you head over there. Just throwing that out there. So just saying. Thanks, Braden and Savannah. Thanks, all you guys. La Crosse getting some rain right now. The Dells, you're going to be okay. La Crosse, you're going to be okay. Basically, all of Wisconsin, it looks like that severe weather threat is pretty low, except for the northeastern part of the state where we do have an active tornado warning. That potential for a tornado seems to have decreased quite a bit. There's still some hail, I can tell, in this storm, though, and heavy rain, and some winds, too, right near Menominee in that the Indian reservation out there. Iowa, we're still looking at what will be some storms tonight, without a doubt. We're seeing those storms begin to pop up along the cold front, although they are quickly fizzling, so they may have a hard time maintaining themselves. You have a good chance to see some storms if you're in northern Iowa. If you're in central Iowa, we do have one severe storm. If you're in southern Iowa, that severe weather threat and storm threat is pretty low. Illinois is going to be impacted by this. And hey, Libby, by the way, Minnesota, you guys in Minnesota should be all good now. There may be a little bit of rain. I guess I'll make that clear. Minnesota, you guys are in the clear. You guys are all good in Minnesota. That severe weather threat out there has since passed. So, yes, Minnesota, all good. Happy to report you guys are done with this. La Crosse, you still got some storms. Like I said, central Iowa, we do have this one severe storm. It is not looking as healthy as it was before. So while you do have a pretty good chance for some storms in northeastern Iowa, that severe weather threat appears pretty low, to be completely honest. In fact, I don't really see a very high severe weather threat anywhere right now. So, how's it going out there, Anna? No tornadoes in La Crosse. No tornadoes in La Crosse. Getting windy in Gresham, Wisconsin. Okay. Yep, Platteville's in just rain right now. That's exactly right, Ashley. So that's a good question. So tomorrow, you're right, Cleveland is in a level 3 risk. Let's talk about that. So our severe weather threat, I'm going to zoom out and give you an idea where our outlook is tomorrow. So level 3 severe weather threat exists across portions of the U.S. tomorrow, including portions of the Midwest and Northeast. So Ohio is in that level 3 risk. Let me recircle that. Portions of Ohio are in that level 3 risk. Portions of Pennsylvania and New York. So there's your level 3 risk right there. Unlike today, that risk is greatest for damaging wind. We also have a very broad level 2 risk that'll be in effect for much of tomorrow. We have a small level 3 risk in Texas tomorrow as well. We don't have anyone watching from Texas, right? If you are watching from Texas, drop me a TX. I'm assuming no, but I'm just curious. It just started raining hard in Cresco, Iowa. Thanks for the update, Riley. I do appreciate that. We do got a Texan. Let's go. Some storms out there tomorrow for you. But yes, level 3 severe weather risk extending from Columbus up towards Syracuse, New York. So Columbus, some of the major cities included are Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Erie, Pennsylvania. We got Rochester, Syracuse, New York included in that as well. So we're basically looking at what is going to be a primarily damaging wind threat. And the risk for severe weather tomorrow is going to be greatest in the afternoon, not the evening like we're seeing today. If you're on the lake, it won't really make a huge difference. It's really just a severe weather threat. It's pretty broad for basically the entire area here. Yeah, Minnesota, you're all clear. Sauk County in Wisconsin, you should be all clear too. But tomorrow, if storms are bad enough, I will be going on and doing another live. So, like I said, make sure to follow too, because I'll be on tomorrow for updates as well. Yeah. Okay, good question, Sarah. Yeah, which part of Canada are you in? So honestly, it's true because the National Weather Service, well, they only do it for the United States, but the level 2 risk would probably go something like this. I'm drawing your Canada threat for you there, so you have it. Your level 1 risk would probably go something like this. So those would be your extended threats out there. Yeah, tomorrow the tornado threat is much lower. It is the severe weather threat, primarily for wind and some hail too, but it's mainly a wind threat tomorrow. And that does include portions of southern Ontario for all our Canadians watching. Yes. Basically Toronto and London would both be included in that level 2 risk. Madison is basically clear. I would say you're going to be all right out there. There's going to be some storms tonight. I would be surprised if you see anything beyond sort of a garden variety severe storm. Yeah, no problem there. Clouds are moving fast in Gresham. That makes sense. You got a storm moving through. So that's your clouds are going to be moving fast with the with the storm. Ryan says amazing light show in Gwinn, Michigan. That's awesome. Does not look like any tornado threats out there, but that is cool. Let's see. So that's basically our outlook for tomorrow. And a website that'd be better than the Weather Channel. Yeah, no, I would be surprised if there will not be a higher than level 3 risk tomorrow. I'd be very surprised personally. Website better than the Weather Channel. I mean, the Storm Prediction Center, SPC, like spc.gov. That's pretty much where I go. That's going to give you all the raw data for severe weather. It's a lot on there, but it gives you everything. This is for tomorrow. This is tomorrow's severe weather threat. Like I said, level 3 for portions of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. I always get a lot of Ohio people watching, so anyone from Ohio, any OH, drop me an OH in the chat if you're watching from Ohio. The light green in Canada, I just drew that myself. That's like the extension of the level 1 severe weather risk, since on TikTok I had a Canadian asking me questions. Oh, Jackie's on here. What's up, Jackie? Welcome back. All right, we got some Ohio folks on here. I may be live with you guys tomorrow. There are a couple ongoing warnings. We're going to actually dive back into what we're seeing in Wisconsin. Although I am probably going to wrap up this live pretty soon, just considering the boxes. Sorry, Ryan. That is those are flash flood warnings, I believe, being issued by the Canadian National Weather Service. Our one active warning is this tornado warning that we've been tracking in Menominee County in Wisconsin, but I do expect they're going to let this warning expire. There is not much rotation along the line anymore. And like I said, tonight, as a whole, not as significant as originally expected. Good news for us. So for the most part, you guys, I would keep emergency alerts on your phone in case something happens that's unexpected here. That would allow you to be alerted. It would make noise. It would wake you up. But in the meantime, I am going to wrap up the live here. And if you guys have more questions, like I said, you can always find me on, you can always just comment on any of my recent videos. or just, like on YouTube, comment on some of those videos, or yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Tucker Weather. If you go on Instagram at Tucker Weather, you can send me a message there. I'll do my best to get back to all you guys for any questions you got. And then, yeah, tomorrow the tornado threat is not super significant. It's more or less a threat for damaging wind. Actually, before I hop off, I'm trying to think. Is there any, random stuff you guys want to chat about just casually before I run off? I'm off work tomorrow. I'm off work Wednesday, so I'm kind of just chilling tonight. It's kind of nice. Green Bay, it should be all right. There'll be storms in Green Bay, but I don't expect anything too bad. Any random weather questions? Anything you guys want to learn about? On YouTube, I definitely am interested in making more educational videos for you guys. Oh, you're all good, Reagan. A lot of people do it actually. Yeah, you can go to bed in lacrosse. Jesse and Dakota, you guys are all good out there. Yeah, is there anything you guys want to learn about? Wolves in 5, all right. Yeah, no, I'm always willing to teach weather stuff. Have I ever thought about having a class? I would love to. I don't know how I'd be able to do that, but I could do basic online teaching lessons. That might be kind of cool. I don't know if you'd have interest in that. Maybe I could do little online lessons. Let's see. Reagan said, "Oh, what's up? We got Mezzo Matt on YouTube now too. What's up, man?" Reagan asked, "What got me started on weather?" Well, Jackie, if you're interested, I actually might start doing that. They'd be on YouTube on my @Tucker Weather channel. So if you're interested, I really might. I've thought about doing that for so long. I literally might just start doing that tomorrow. Then, if you're interested, I'll definitely think about that one. All right, Reagan asked, "What got me started on weather?" That's a great question. What got me started on weather? Honestly, I got no clue what got me started on weather. It's just something I've always loved. Literally, gosh. What got me started on weather? Yeah, I don't know if there was anything that ever got me started on weather. And, a lot of people talk about a storm that they saw when they were a kid that really got them started. For me, to be honest, it's just always been a part of my life. I mean, I was 2 years old. I don't even remember. I was 2 years old reporting the weather to my friends and family. And where I lived in Boston, I lived downtown in Boston at the time. It was the weather beacon on the old Hancock Tower. It would change colors and flash different colors. Actually, it was pretty simple. The rhyme went, it went steady blue, clear view, flashing blue, clouds due, steady red, rain ahead, flashing red, snow instead, or that the Sox game was canceled. And it just changed basically, colors based on the forecast. So that I loved as a kid, and that was what got me started. But I remember loving the weather, getting super excited about snow, all that stuff, from a very, very young age. And that was that. I mean, that's as early as I can remember. And since then, I mean, my entire life since then has really just been about weather in a lot of different ways. I started charting high and low temperatures when I was 4 years old. On a chart, I had a teacher who saw that I liked weather and would cut out the newspaper for me. And I would write down the highs and lows, and I kept the chart going. And then, yeah, I mean, it's just always grown from there. Third grade, I remember really into clouds and stuff. I loved Storm Stories by Jim Cantori on the Weather Channel. That's what got me into severe weather, which is my favorite kind of weather. I mean, I believe that's what really kicked me into high gear was Storm Stories, and my love for severe weather. And I always missed it because we, being in Massachusetts, we wouldn't get severe weather very much. Oh, that's cool, Joe. That's awesome. You went to Chase. I mean, sucks about the cap, but that's pretty cool. I was out chasing the other day. You'll get more. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Um, I ran a weather website when I was in high school. That was pretty cool. I did regular like 7-day forecasts. To be honest, like I look back though, and so many kids these days are so much more knowledgeable than I was when I was in high school. But um, I've always been a life learner. Even today, I have a lot to learn, and I think I continue to learn a lot every year. And I think I've really been able to do that better than a lot of people. And I'm never gonna stop learning. I love what I do, and it makes it a lot easier to keep on learning and keep on improving. And there's a lot of people in meteorology who are like that. And there's a lot of people in meteorology. I'm nowhere near the smartest person, not even close. I have so many friends who are just so gifted, but I do think when it comes to forecasting, that's something that I do have a strength in for sure. And that's where I put my focus. So, let's see. Western Kentucky the next 3 days, Matthew. To be honest, I haven't actually looked that closely, but last time I checked, it did look to me like there would be some severe weather out there. Yeah, Storm Stories was legit. That was the thing. Gosh, I got to go back and find that Hoisington, Kansas tornado. I don't know. I actually don't know that one. Are you in school out there, Joe? And Matt, yeah, I'd love to meet you too, man. Gosh, I was gonna say about the storm threat. I haven't really looked that closely at Western Kentucky since yesterday. Actually, I didn't look that closely at it even yesterday, but to me, it looked like that shortwave had enough juice that you'd get some severe weather. There's got to be a slight risk somewhere around that area. I think. I don't see anything high end though, but I need to take a closer look. I did not look that closely. Ellie asked, "What is my favorite, most accurate free weather app?" Well, I can't endorse anything technically because of my job. I don't know. Look for radar apps. Thursday looks good. I'll need to take a look. I'm gonna make another video tomorrow, so I'll get into it then. But that shortwave, you got something. You got something to work with. Instability is pretty high. Well, not super high, but it's easily adequate. You get any shear, you should be good with a slight risk out of that. Hey, that's awesome, Reagan. That's how it starts. A lot of high school kids are incredibly gifted and smart and good at forecasting already. Man. All right. I'm probably gonna wrap. Actually, before I wrap this up, anyone in TikTok, anyone else out there studying meteorology or want to be a meteorologist or is a meteorologist or a storm chaser? I'm really curious. Who else we got on? Let's see. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. That's cool, Joe. Wisconsin warnings, just some severe storm warnings in northwestern Wisconsin now. Oh, Nolan, that's awesome. That's awesome, Nolan. Hey, Nolan, follow me here or something, and if you have any questions ever about getting into meteorology, being a meteorologist, I'm happy to help. Oh, Sam, you're studying at OU. That is sweet. I ran into some of you storm chasing the other day. I don't know if you were out storm chasing, but I ran into some OU kids out storm chasing. What was it on Thursday in Texas? If any of you guys, by the way, any of you who are interested in getting into meteorology or are students or high schoolers or whatever, find me on Instagram because I don't always see the TikTok DMs. Find me on Instagram, send me a message, and I would love to help mentor you guys or just offer advice if you're interested. I love helping the next generation. And if you need anything, I'd love to be a resource. You can find me, like I said, I'm at Tucker Weather everywhere, but I just love helping people. So if you guys have any questions, because I'll tell you, I'll say this too, by the way. I was, let's see. Hey, that's awesome, Matt. That's awesome, Matt. That is so cool. Hey, yeah, it's some days bust. No, yeah. If I was gonna say I was not the most amazing student. I was like good. I mean, I had like a 3.0 in college. I wasn't like a 4.0 kid though, and I definitely had my struggles getting through school at times. Like, not big struggles, but I had to retake Calc 3 and 4, and they were hard. I got a D or two in college. You know, I wasn't the perfect kid, but I got a lot of experience, and I know how to navigate some of that stuff because it's not easy. It's not easy being a meteorologist, but yeah. Um, oh, that's so cool, Jackie. That's cool you've learned from that. Um, let's see what else we got. I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon here now, but um, all right. Actually, I am gonna wrap this up in a moment. For real this time, though. Uh, hey, Matt, I would say, yeah, we should definitely chat sometime, dude. I would definitely say finish school, though. It's a good idea to do that, even though it's hard. I would definitely finish it. Although full-time streaming is pretty sweet. Yeah, keep up the good work and all that. That's sick that you got chasers, too. Um, all right, guys, I'm getting a little tired. The storms are, in a good way, not looking good in that they're weak and there are not many of them. So I'm going to wrap this up. Be sure to check back here. The threats, yeah, basically Wisconsin, you're all good out there. Um, the threats are pretty low. Omaha, you're all right. And then Buffalo tomorrow. I'll be watching. Buffalo looks like some wind, not really tornadoes. But I will have updates on these storms tomorrow. If they get bad, I'll be live. And I will see you all back here on TikTok and on YouTube as well. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up. And I will see all of you, next time, which may end up being tomorrow. And if not, then I will see you all whenever next time comes. So thanks for being here, and stay safe, guys. We'll continue to watch the weather and keep you updated through this spring. See you guys.